contend with, we have some difficulty with our Zoom capability tonight, so we will not be Zooming. But I will read all the disclaimers, including the Zoom disclaimer, so everybody knows what's going on. This meeting will be held in person at this location. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting, while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public. The meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in any specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. I will read the rest. So, from a computer, I'm going to skip the Zoom stuff because it's just not applicable. In accordance with the requirements for the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting will be recorded and can be found at the Lunenburg Access YouTube channel, http://www.youtube.com/user/LunenburgAccess/videos within 24 hours of this meeting. The agenda lists all the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by myself. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. I will now call us to order at 6:36. Opening comments, I would like to open for comments from the board. Either of the board members have, Mr. Rabbit?
If you could, I have just a few brief pieces, and then I have something that may be a little out of order, but I believe this is incredibly significant. If I were the quality manager here.
If it's out of order, I'll let you know.
Thank you. I knew you would, no matter what. But in either case, this one is incredibly important, and essentially, if I were a plant manager, I would shut that production line down right now. Okay, so anyway, first of all, I just wanted to share that as we and I are working on the senior package and stuff, I made a point to try and talk to as many elders and seniors, the seniors are 60 to 80 and 80 and up, with regard to what's going on in their lives. And simultaneously, for those who read AARP magazine, Brian, I'm sure you do, it outlines some things.
Not as old as you.
By 3 days or so. Happy birthday, by the way. I won't see you till then. Okay, so anyway, there's little hints in there, and I would strongly recommend, if you want to live longer and you want to keep your brain capacities together, watch your sugars, blood pressures. Talk with your friends a lot. You know what that means? Go join different committees. There's tons of committees out there. Go join the senior center. There's so many things going on. Avoid stress. Don't get on the board of assessors. Absolutely. Yes, that's why you're not sleeping. Get some sleep, Sarah. You really do need it. Okay, protect your vision and your hearing. The data is overwhelming. You're 48% more likely to accelerate moving into Alzheimer's and dementia by not getting hearing aids and, or for that matter, getting eyewear. Now, you laugh, but the people I talk to, some of the seniors don't like wearing the hearing aids. And so, okay, here you go. But that's going to be a problem. I know.
Let me interrupt you.
I'm off topic.
Let me just interrupt you for a minute. Yes.
Yeah.
Please try to keep your comments to things that relate to the Board of Assessors.
Okay. Well,
today.
I was going to say,
No. If you want to do that, you can do that at town meeting, or you can come to the select board during public discussion and have that discussion. And it's all what you say is valid, but please keep it on topic for Board of Assessors.
Punch in and pay taxes. Senior work-off program. You can go to $2,000 a year. I've called Heather to see what the tax implications are with regard to you taxing that money. Can I go into it? And if you want to find out, I'm not sure where you find out all the job. Julie? Call Julie. Okay, and I won't talk about letting somebody steal your home. Okay, the red flag. And if I could, for you folks. Okay, we have a property map. Oh, only 3 of us. Oh, Rena, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, can you share?
So this is public comment you're still working on, right?
Yeah, but only because I want to get it right up front. Okay, so anyway, it's a relationship to property cards. I went out and did some testing to see how well our property maps are linked into our GIS system and pulling down the data. I looked at a particular property that I'm very familiar with and went and looked at the CIA property card as well as the Vision property card. If you look at the old CIA property card, they have a value of, my house was valued at $554,000, which we know is wrong. And we've been talking about that being potentially out of date, but it's still very much there. The real concerning part was I went to the Vision card, which is out of Vision system, right? And in the system,
That hasn't been updated.
well, I'll tell you, it is something really, it hasn't been updated yet? No. Okay, so I went and looked at the Vision card. I looked at the current assessment. The current assessment would normally indicate what your house is going to be appraised at. My house is appraised at $534,000. If I looked at 2023, which is the current year, it's now $880,500. Okay, I kind of get that. Why does the current assessment show it at 535 in one section and 888 in the next? And the following 2 years are 695 and 556, and none of those correlate to the CAI card. My concern is that right now, they're pulling data out of our systems to do the assessments, and for that matter, to calculate taxes, our taxes. The numbers aren't lining up, and I know that we're filing and getting ready to post stuff, and none of these cross, none of these line up, and here we are moving down, and I'm just fearful we're going to run out of time, and that somehow the databases have gotten mixed, and I really do believe that, Mr. Chairman, that you might want to sit down with the town manager, who is the direct supervisor of those operations, and let's get an identification of what is going on here. And if there's a systems leak or someone's pulling information from wrong files, we need to jump on that right now, and then we need to also find out how did that happen.
So your concern is that the cards don't necessarily match, and they aren't up to date. And Marina just indicated that they are not up to date. So
Yeah,
we
but-
know they're not up to date.
The CAI cards
Should be up to date.
because that was pulled from the Vision file a few weeks ago.
Yep.
Right, and the CAA cards aren't. The data's wrong. My house is valued differently than what's showing on the CAA card right now. And as well as the Vision information does not correspond. One's 554 and the other one's 534.
So clearly, if Vision isn't updated, you can't look at the Vision card. So,
But Vision drives a lot of our systems.
that drives most of it.
Yeah.
But it's not up to date today. So we can't,
Who put that number in? Where did that number come from?
those were old numbers.
No, they weren't.
I don't know how to answer your question.
No, I don't
Because
expect
you're,
you.
well,
I
because I'm not sure even what the question is. We indicated that the Vision cards are wrong,
Mm-hmm.
so we can't look at the quality of the Vision cards. We just look at the Vision cards and go, it's wrong, let's not look at it.
Okay.
It's gonna be used once it gets updated. They're supposed to be updated. What's the schedule?
And I appreciate the public comment, but being I just got this data, I don't know how to act on it right now.
Right.
I would like it to be something we put on our agenda so we can evaluate and understand exactly what the concerns are so that we can address them immediately.
Yep.
If-
But if
So,
it's
Mr.
not
Chairman?
on the agenda, I don't know how to comment
Yeah,
right now.
Mr. Chairman, it is somewhat buried in the agenda. I could have brought it in under some of the questions for Rena. But the thing of it is, the 885 is right. The other piece is, where did that data come from? How did they get slid in there? What's going on there? And then for that matter, if you're telling me the CAI card is right, it's not. So all I'm saying is, the longer we wait, if we wait for 2 more weeks, a lot of stuff is gonna happen in the next couple of weeks, right?
Well, we
And-
can't really pull any cards over.
Turn on your mic, please.
We can't really pull any cards over until we finalize the file, and that won't be until January.
Right,
Right.
till January. So we've got Thanksgiving, we've got Christmas, and next thing you know, it's January. I suspect that it could be something simple, they're pulling it in, but all I know is that you don't let this sit and wait for meetings and get it on the agenda, and then next thing you know, you're a month down the road. And the fact that we can only talk.
Let me just interrupt. So the work will go on regardless of whether the meetings are here. When the meetings, we could talk about this, the situation, now that we have this situation. We could talk about it at the next meeting. Between now and then, a lot of work is gonna go on. Nobody's sitting around and waiting.
Okay.
So I think that's mischaracterization and of the worst kind. So go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, if we had more than 3 members, I would have been able to contact you and share this information with you. Okay, so we're locked out of communicating. And the thing of it is, I would recommend that yourself, Rena, and town manager get involved and come back and tell us what's going on in that time frame before the next meeting.
We just said we'd bring it up at the next meeting, December 4th.
Okay, go
I'll give
ahead.
you a status of where we are, what we found, and when
Okay.
it'll be corrected.
So you'll do the
So
investigation.
we will, together, work on trying to identify where the discrepancies lie. Apparently, based upon this data that we've not seen until just now,
Right.
you think that the number on the CIA card is wrong, and so we'll investigate that, and then we'll get a timing for when the vision cards will be up to date. So we can commit to do that by the next meeting, I
Okay.
think.
Point of clarification, sir, is that the vision card, the lower right-hand section is accurate. The upper section, upper feed section is not.
It hasn't been updated, so.
Well, it has been, it's sitting there.
No. We told you it's wrong. There's not everything on it's wrong necessarily.
Right,
Something's wrong.
yes.
So great, we'll do that investigation and get back to you,
Thank you.
all of us, on at the next meeting. Was there more public comment?
I think I've had enough.
Oh.
Can I go home now?
Sarah, would you have anything you'd like to share?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Now, I have none. I will open it up to the public, if the public has any comment that they'd like to make. Seeing none, we're gonna move right along. Thank you. Old business, we have some minutes to approve. On the agenda, we're supposed to approve October 11th, but you and I still need to figure out how to fill in that gap. So we're not gonna address that one today.
Yeah,
We have minutes,
September something,
it was October 11th.
October 11th.
We also have minutes from November 6th that were amended and cleaned up. I think you all should have copies of them. Were there any things on the November 6th minutes that need be
Yes.
adjusted? Yes?
Yes, Chairman.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, opening public comments. John Abbott shares the state of his guidelines to create compelling and comprehensive tax rate and classifications. And Rena, you brought it up. See the DLS tax information, that sheet, that printout that you just showed prior to the meeting? Okay.
All the ones I have.
Yeah. And so, including the low income.
So can you give us the new wording that you'd like to add or
If you give me
take
a
out?
minute, I'll do that.
Okay.
Okay, the next thing, the discussions on page 2,
Okay.
with regard to Rena
Can we
Swayze.
go through them one at a time?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
What do you want changed?
I don't have any comments after that. on
No,
that
but
first
what did you
page.
want us to change on the first page? We're approving the minutes. If there's something you want changed on the first page, we can change it.
Okay.
Now's the time.
Guidelines to create compelling and comprehensive tax rate and classification, including low-income assistance for owners of rental project property. There's something new that just popped up, and I believe I shared with it, but it didn't get picked up. It's just that if you are an owner of a piece of property you're renting out to low-income folks, you can get a tax assistance in the new regulations that just came out.
Do you have the wording somewhere? Do you have it written?
I did do that, right? I'll learn.
Well, if we're amending the minutes, it's the words that you want to have in the minutes, we'll make sure to have them.
Okay.
Is this what you want, or is this something similar
I
to
just,
that?
I just came across that this
Okay.
afternoon, and so I just,
If it's the pleasure of the board, we'll go through the comments that Mr. Rabbit has today about the minutes, and we will then revise the minutes and review it again next week, next meeting, if that's okay. So this way, you can
Yes.
comment all you'd like, but we can write up the words and get exactly the words that you'd like to see there.
Yes, perfect.
For
Thank you.
the next time.
Yeah, thank you, I got it.
So, okay,
Okay,
so that was
page
the
2.
first one, yep.
Page 2, status report on interim principal assessor. We did have a vote with regard to accepting seasonal cottages. We did have a definition, including dimensions in there, and that is not necessarily defined. It just says the criteria included lack of central heating, and Rena Swayze confirms. That we actually provided dimensional specifications, and I will,
So,
so I will amend that to reflect those, that, include that definition as well as, yeah. the
we
definition
can
of
include
specs.
those in the minutes, although it probably isn't necessary because she has it documented, and we've agreed to that, but we can put it in the minutes because
Yeah.
that way it's
I
in
thought we
perpetuity.
included that lack of central heating
We did.
was there, so I said, well, why not get the rest of the data in there? But-
The only reason it's on the minutes is because I specifically asked the question because I hadn't heard it. And
Okay.
I obviously missed it, but that's okay.
That's all right.
So we can include that, okay, good.
Okay,
What was the other dimensions of
just the dimensions and, we'll write it up. Just, we had a definition, remember we voted on the definition
Right,
of a and it became kind of our policy?
right. And he would like that, pardon me, but I think he would like that recorded here in the minutes, and I think that's fair. That's very fair.
So, and then, senior center, okay. Improved collaboration, somehow that's in senior center and status of improved collaboration with town manager. I don't understand what that means.
I don't know why they're in the same category. They were separate.
Okay,
So, the request is to
fix that,
fix that one.
fix that one.
I'm okay with that.
Okay,
Actually, it looks like they were just,
they could have slipped in it. That's all right, that's what we're doing, we're
that's
fixing.
fine, no?
Okay,
That's exactly what we did.
If you give us a copy with the corrections, we'll let Sheila correct.
Yeah,
Perfect.
thank you, Rena, thank you. I'll send it to you, Rena,
Yeah.
or Brian.
Well, I'll collect all the changes, Sarah, do you have
Okay.
any changes? I'm
They'll
sorry.
go to the chair.
I'll collect all the changes, and that way we get one place, as opposed to stuff coming in from all over the place.
Right, I think that's the safe way to do it.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, existing contracts, an electronic folder is being created, okay, and we don't have anything yet. That was a question mark. Shares an interest and wants to participate in the RFP development. Did you receive any feedback on our participation, Mr. Chairman?
Is that an
Yes,
amendment
but
to the minutes?
it's not an amendment to the minutes, but it will be an update for later on.
Okay,
Yep,
perfect, thank you.
that's a good question.
Okay. Walk through the Lunenburg commitment. Okay, and one of the things we did do is we walked through the Lunenburg commitment via Nate's, via the vision requirements, and both Mike and Rena confirmed that all have been provided to in Lunenburg to date, and that the town of Lunenburg will not hold up the 5-year project. We went through all those questions.
Yep.
And that wasn't there. And I just want to make it clear right now that we're not holding anything up, and we're meeting all their requirements.
So you don't want to list all the questions again, you just want to say,
I just
okay,
want,
that's
I
good.
just wanted to say that.
Um,
Okay, and then, that's it for that one. And I will type these up and send them to you.
Thank you.
I have a couple of things that I would like to add.
Make sure you agree.
So if you go under appointment at 7 PM,
Yep.
you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullets down.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like the wording to be changed to Sarah Kemmer asks Mike Torello how his company will determine qualifying and non-qualifying sales. And I have that written here, so I
Okay.
can just pass it to you.
Sure.
And then,
Okay, you already have it written?
yep.
Oh, okay, good.
And there
We'll
are a
pass that
couple
on.
other things that we asked in there that I think are important for the public to know. So like after the next bullet, where we talk about how CJ was having trouble keeping up with non-qualified sales, I believe I asked how when there is variation in the quartile percent that's particularly large, how it will be reconciled. Because I think that's been an issue. Mike Torello responded about how that is done within the Visions database. So I have that written down here.
Fabulous.
Should I pass it to you, Irina?
You can go right to Rena.
Okay.
I was just trying to collect, if there were a lot, make sure that we have more. She already has them, that's fine.
If that's
It's already
fine with
written up.
everyone.
Jack, the ones from Mr. Rabbit will still need to be written up, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is everybody fine with
And
those
I have-
amendments?
Yes, so
Yeah, okay.
we will,
Why don't
we
do it all
will
in one?
then review the entirely
Oh.
modified minutes for the next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else on the minutes?
The past ones?
We
Are we talking the 27th, the 11th, October 11th, or are we talking the?
The only two that we're going to be talking about today were the 11th, which we are not going to review.
Right,
Because
okay.
we're still going to flush it out, and November 6th, which we just passed over till next time,
Right,
with these modifications that you're going to provide. Was there
okay.
something else on minutes you wanted?
I believe we already approved the 27th.
We did.
Okay.
Yeah, I think those got stapled on the back of something, and Sheila wasn't sure why she did that.
Yeah. Then that would lead, if we have approved the September 27th, the website wasn't updated to reflect it
As of,
as of today?
so the minutes of the 27th don't show up on the website as?
Well, no, they show as a download, but they don't show the minutes, I'm sorry. The minutes aren't available according to that.
So there must be some delay, I don't know what the delay would be. Well, we can look into that for the next meeting as well, and find out why
Okay.
there's a delay. And Rena, remind me, because we have a few things to talk about. That's a good point. There's no reason for minutes to be delayed. Once they're approved, they should be posted.
Yeah, within a couple of weeks, but this is
Well,
back a month.
it's 2 weeks. It's
2 weeks?
It's 2 weeks. We approved them last time.
Oh, I
It's 2
see.
weeks every time, so,
Yeah,
yes, it's a month old. Okay. Do we have invoices, expense vouchers, payroll, et cetera, to be approved?
The only thing we have is some payroll vouchers, that's all.
So if you turn on your mic, they'll know.
The only thing we have is payroll vouchers to be sent.
Oh, wow. That's encouraging.
Every single one of these, right?
Yes, please.
While we're signing those, did you have anything you wanted to report out? So we can listen while we, right?
Well, I've been working with Marlene, our tax collector, on the, trying to get the file ready for the third quarter billing. And
Okay.
we can't just pull out the third quarter, so we're going to have to work on the file, but we spent the entire day and with Vision trying to get the file all squared away. So we had to go back and print out the 3 quarters to get the third quarter in. So
Yep.
we have to do some adjustments, so, but Marlene and I have been working all on that. We have a number for a commitment, we have to recheck it, but, so working on the file and working on the, I worked on a data collection manual. I looked through some of the others we had, and then I kind of basically went by one that was used in another community, which was more geared to Massachusetts, so when you guys get a chance, you can kind of read all through that and see what you think.
okay.
Other than that, it's been just business as usual.
So
busy.
the data collection manual, when do we think we might see it completed? Or is it ever going to be completed?
No, I've just got, I
Thank
want
you.
to add in a few more styles of houses, so you have a picture of the style of the houses. There's a couple that I've added in to
Since
the
we-
copy I printed out today, but just, our styles in our town, so,
Right,
Yeah.
houses in our town. So
yep.
that should be done fairly soon.
May I ask, have you shared a digital copy of that with us or email? That's the one you sent? Okay.
Well, the
Well,
one
no,
only
the
had,
houses
it only
in-
had 2 houses on it.
Yes,
Okay,
I don't know, have you shared one since then?
no, I have no.
Okay.
okay,
I have to finish the digital copies for the
no
houses.
problem. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss something.
Fabulous.
So, is that, Rena, was that your report?
That's it.
Okay, so we don't get a piece of paper or anything like that this time, not that, I understand everybody's crazy busy. Don't worry about it. I just want to make sure I didn't.
Today.
But I have questions.
On the
Yes.
Fiscal assessor's
On the
report.
report, assessor reports. Okay, you've got the schedule of events, key schedule of events that you published a couple months ago.
That's from the Department of Revenue, that's not mine.
That's not yours?
No, that's from the Department of Revenue.
Oh, I thought that
From the
was your
accountant.
schedule, your plan. Okay, so we don't have really a schedule or work plan, because,
Well, we follow that,
yeah,
but this is going to be an unusual year, don't forget.
okay,
So right now, we're working on third quarter tax bills.
yeah. So I see the ongoing tasks that you were working on, and I was wondering, okay, and I was assuming that was in that schedule, and the question becomes, do we have a schedule, a new schedule to be printed and available so we can see what's happening next month and at least halfway into 2024? What are the key events that we have to be?
Now we're working on vision schedule, and you have that.
Yeah, but does a vision schedule call out for public updates and things like that? And, something that's relevant to the office activities or anything like that? Or when, do we have a plan for this organization? I know you're saying your plan is to follow that, but usually you'll take that and put it into your own and you'll build stuff out of it. Do we have anything like that?
No.
Okay.
Well, sort of. We have a meeting scheduled, or tentatively scheduled, with Mike, with someone from the DOR, or I think it's DOR,
Yeah, Becky from the DOR, Mike Turillo,
sometime in the first week of December.
December 5th.
Which I don't have off the top of my head, but thank you for that. So yes, there are steps that are starting to occur. I think at that point, we'll put together a more detailed list of here's what the schedule will look like. Because this is the startup meeting. I was actually going to bring it up later on, but now's a good time. This is the startup meeting for that. So we should it's the day after our regular meeting, the 4th. It's on the 5th, so I won't have much of an update for the 4th, but I will probably have a pretty extensive update for the 18th, as far as what the schedule of events are, where we are.
Okay, so I guess I was looking for some key events and some deliverables with regard to what we're expecting to come forward with. And I know there's some real big projects sitting here that we talked about last week with regard to, the update, the classification, the presentation to the town with regard to a tax rate and things like that. And I think you yourself were saying, Mr. Chairman, that this is something that's going to be big, and we're going to have to get that started real soon. So what is the deliverable date? What is the date of the planned date, or the rough date? And I saw sometime in February. And so who owns this, and who has the timeline for that?
Well, as I just said, we'll be coming up with a timeline on December 5th. I think we have a pretty good
December
idea
5th.
what those steps are and how long they take,
Yeah.
but we will be agreeing as a team to what the steps will be, what steps we'll be taking and what the timeframes will be. So,
Okay, okay.
I can't give you anything until that. I really can't give you much,
And-
unless you have some more, Rena.
Well, Nate and I were just kind of, Probably our classification hearing will be sometime in January.
That was my thought, but we don't have a date yet.
Yeah, we don't have to have a date, just what are
Well-
the key events coming down? It'd be nice to have a date, Brian.
We could
And-
give you,
and
we
one
could
of-
give you dates sometime after the 5th
Start
of
of the year.
December.
Yeah.
5th of December.
And so what is entailed and what are people going to have to start looking for to collect data? Because usually if you have a meeting coming up, you start doing your research and you're collecting stuff and not waiting till,
Well,
oh, shit.
as Mike told you last time, he has everything he needs right now.
Mhm.
So Vision is in pretty good shape as far as what the deliverables are, or the planned deliverables. So I don't know what else to tell you on that.
Okay.
Is that,
So
No.
I'm just looking for a schedule, that's all, and a
Yeah.
calendar, that's
So-
all. And I had a chance to go ahead and I did pull down the.
by the way,
yes,
just
sir.
like, we originally were trying to have that meeting the week before our next scheduled meeting, but due to people's schedules, we wound up having to move it out to December 5th.
Okay.
Otherwise, we would have had something for the 4th.
Okay, that's fine. I did pull down the creating a compelling comprehensive tax rate classification presentation, and I did go over and look at Melrose. Melrose is, if you
Well,
look at their
we're
website.
going to talk about Melrose
Oh,
a little
yeah.
bit.
But I'm saying, they spent time getting into a lot of material that even a timeline, a time map, yeah.
So we're going to talk
It's a
about
big one.
Melrose after, so let's
Okay.
table that for the moment. We do have an appointment. I'm going to have to actually skip through some of this other stuff and come back, but I really don't want to hold
Okay.
Mr. Kramer up any longer than we have to. I know we're paying him,
That's fine.
so sorry to
No, that's
sort
all
of
right.
table that.
That's
but
all right.
Don't,
We'll come back.
don't forget it, don't let it go
I
away.
won't let it go.
Thank you.
Okay, then.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
See you. Welcome aboard. Thank you. Well, welcome back. Now, I think Rena had sent you off a list of the questions that some of the team members came up with.
I haven't, I've been meeting back to back to back to back, so I haven't even looked at them, but I can absolutely go through them. I'm sure I can
There may be some that you
answer.
can answer immediately, there may be some that we have to table till some future time.
Need
I'm
some
okay with
glasses
that.
or light, Nate?
He's younger than you.
Do you want me to read the questions and then answer them?
Yes, please.
If you can.
Okay.
I haven't seen the list.
So the first question is, why is there such a difference in percent of total value for below average, average, and good properties? The answer is sales. We were able to determine those adjustments based on sales data. In trends that we saw, this is for specific to waterfront properties, that's what we saw.
So that's the 17%, the 50.
Yep, so we separated all of what we felt were good, average, and below average. We couldn't find much for below average, but once we separated them and ran stats specifically on those sales, that's how we came up with those adjustments.
I think that was originally your question, right?
I don't believe that would.
I think there's.
That was Sarah's, oh, sorry.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
and
Does-
I asked it because members of the public have been asking that, and I don't think they really understand how the stats worked out on that.
It's all in the report that we submitted to the town. I think it spells it out pretty clearly.
Well, I've sat through a couple meetings where that was actually questioned.
Okay.
And it was questioned based on the old, there was a report that was put out that is public record that some people have a copy of. And it seems to have been different in that
Yep.
one compared to the one that got published.
Yep, so the copy of that initial report was a draft that I was looking for feedback from the people I was dealing with at town. It was not meant to become a public document. But for whatever reason, it became a public document. And so after that, and after reviewing it more, we were able to tighten up those numbers, and that's how the final numbers came out.
Okay, I just wanted to understand
Yep.
because I did not
Okay.
have all the information.
The second part of that question, if we are mentioning curves and calculations in the answer, can we please see the diagram and walk through the calculations? So, it didn't have anything to do with the curves, or it was strictly sales data. This is what we saw.
Okay,
The percentage differences based on the sales in those different tiers that we set up.
okay, thank you.
No problem. The second question, when are assessed value, when are assessed values are considered, hang on, when are assessed values considered low compared to current sales? How did you determine how much to increase and why? So that's through the ASR study. So it's an assessment to sale ratio. So what the current assessment is divided by the most recent sale price of that property. That will tell you, based on different stratifications, how low the assessments are. Or how high. Or maybe they don't need to change at all. Number 3, when assessed values are higher than current sales, how do you determine how much to decrease values? Same way. We might see that so in the next few years. In 23, things are starting to plateau. We'll see what happens. I'm talking about calendar 23, which will be fiscal 25.
Yeah.
So that's a big, it's never fun when that happens, because the assessed values trail behind what the market's actually doing. So there could be a point where assessed values actually become higher than what they could sell it for. But conversely, when values are going up, assessed values can trail behind a lot further.
And sometimes it's up to as much as 18 months behind,
Yep.
a year and a half.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's a range of flexibility we have in the adjustment, right? Like a percentage? Do I have that correct?
The assessment to sale ratio, so the
Yeah.
median ASR, so for
Yeah.
the whole class, you're allowed to be between 90 and 110% of market value. Generally, and Mike said this last week, most cities and towns will run a median of 95. So
Okay.
if you were to run it a median of 100, that means half the houses would be over 100%. So most cities and towns run at 95.
So that seems to be a policy thing we would have to discuss and adopt, or no?
It's,
No.
Really?
It's voted on at the
That's
classification.
That's the trend,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
and it's in the DOR.
Guideline.
Guidelines. It was a range,
That
wasn't
you
it?
go with 95?
90 to
No,
110.
no, no,
100.
no, no.
That's what I
That
meant.
you stay in the
Yeah,
range
that's what I
between
thought.
90 and
Yeah,
100.
but the
Okay.
95 is something most towns have chosen, but I believe we can choose what we
Yeah.
want.
Well, you want to see what your sales are doing first.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right now.
And that would happen in the classification
Could be a
hearing?
94, it could be a 96, depending on the sales, correct? It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be 95.
No, it doesn't have to be 95, so it can range, 95 is a good number to shoot for. You could have something that's at 93 one year based on, for whatever reason, maybe there's outliers or something that you
Oh.
can't get rid of. So that number ends up being 93, or sometime maybe it could be 96, but 95 is a good number to shoot for.
So I see that number is based on the sales as well.
Yep,
Yes.
yep.
I gotcha, thank you.
Number 4, what market factors should be implemented around town and where in order to accommodate differences between the quartile ranges? So also in the report, I made some suggestions. That's something that you're gonna have, the town will have to follow. Just look for trends. I think I mentioned fire roads. I forget what else I mentioned.
Would you like your report?
Topography, no.
No, you don't. No, you did. You did.
Topography is something that can be
Yeah.
adjusted more readily, because it's obvious. You can walk up and you see a steep hill, okay. Fire roads are gonna be a little more difficult. Right-of-ways, easements, those are some others that I mentioned, but it is such a big part of the market. There are so many people affected by it that it actually is part of the market. So you may not see a trend. You may say,
Oh.
they're not worth, there's no reason to make this adjustment. That's something that is just gonna have to be determined as you watch it. As far as I know right now, there are no adjustments for fire roads or easements or right-of-ways.
Now, is this what we're gonna get from the 5-year review, the review that we're doing right now with Mike? Is that the thing we're having all these people collect the data for us? Will we be able to see trends from that date?
From the sales you will.
Yeah.
You
It might stick
You
out
might.
more now that it's tiered the way it
Okay.
is. You might see something, but also there's ways to just isolate those properties that are on those, or, for instance, on the fire roads. There are
Yeah.
ways to isolate it and,
Okay,
And you want to have a few sales. You don't want to do that on
on
one
one
sale.
sale only,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
you'd want to compare it to those that are on fire roads versus ones that aren't.
Right.
Some people might prefer to be on a fire road.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a situation where we had fire roads on the lake, on one of the lakes as well, and that shifted it over. Is there a general guideline at all out by the state or anything, how to treat it, what to look, necessarily, what the number is, but what to look for and factor that in? Is there anything like that, Nate?
Look for trends. Prove it. Support
Just
your
trying to-
adjustment.
Trends in sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can maybe interview other assessors that have similar situations. There are probably very few. I've never seen
Yeah.
this many. But, and you may find that it's just part of the market.
Lancaster has a lot of fire roads, maybe we
They
should
do.
be talking to somebody from Lancaster.
I looked at a couple of the houses and they were way up there too.
Yep, well, that's
That's the other side of
Sorry.
it. So what's the neighborhood?
we digressed.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's fine. Number 5. How is an assessor to know when it is more appropriate to follow the qualified sales method your group chose versus the original method Lunenburg followed for the past year? So, that's a loaded question. He did do it the correct way,
see.
based on the information that he had and what he was familiar with.
Right.
The stats did meet.
Right.
What he wasn't aware of was most of those sales were not representative of most of the homes on the water.
Right.
So you had some really high-end sales, and that's what it was adjusted on, because that's all there was, not knowing that,
Right.
$1 million home is not typical.
Not the norm on
Yes.
those lakes, yes.
Right.
So the way he did it, the stats met, and it wasn't wrong. It was just an unfamiliarity with what he was working with, and the fact that those sales weren't representative of the majority of the properties on the lake.
So all he could do is punch up the land. He couldn't touch the house per se. It's
I believe the
relevant
houses
stuff.
were adjusted
Houses
to.
were
Really?
adjusted, but
Yeah.
And not anything.
it was, right.
Yeah.
That's great. He had to make it up somehow. Go ahead, I'm sorry. I'll let you finish,
no, that's
Sarah,
fine.
I have a couple of questions.
We have
Number 6, what checks and balances are missing from Lunenburg's office that you've seen in other towns? I mean, and I've said this in my report too, you have a 2-person office, and the town's doing all their values in-house, there's no way you can do a good job. Mike Torello's here now, he does an excellent job, and it takes a huge weight off
Right.
the assessor, and they're so much more familiar with the communities that are around you too. I think they said they do about 70% of the state. So they just know what's going on, whether it's Lunenburg or they know what the trends are going on. They know to look like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem right. Nobody went up 130% or whatever that number was.
Right.
That something's wrong there. Or another thing that I noticed right away was the tax rate dropped $3 and there's nothing big going on in the town. That is a huge red flag. You know, if you see, like 15 cents, it's pretty big.
$3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big one.
So that would have been a red flag that, excuse me, that would have been a red flag that just didn't get noticed as we went through the process and through the data.
Right.
Okay.
They didn't have Mike. They didn't have you. Nate, they didn't have you to flag it.
It's,
I'll never, like, that's just things that I would look at. I wouldn't say, well, they didn't have me, that's why it happened.
No, I would have said that. An expert,
it's,
new guy.
there were not enough resources to do the kind of work that we needed to have done.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I might,
Well-
Sarah, you've done your questions?
I have
Oh, wait.
no
He
set
has
of
your
questions.
list of questions.
Yeah, but I wanted to ask a question against
Follow up on
Sarah's. I didn't
Sarah's?
want it to.
Was that the last of Sarah's questions?
Yeah, I just came up with 6 based on things people had been asking.
That's fine.
Right.
So great.
Right. And
So
then, and
there
this
might be
is,
more.
Sarah, a lot of people ask that first question.
I know,
A lot of
Well,
them.
I just
And-
wanted them to hear it again.
Yeah, this is kind of like an elephant in the room, in that you filed that preliminary report that was supposed to stay top secret. This is a small town, nothing stays top secret. Even before they did the request, right, there was another report. And there was some sort of process that you went through, and I'm assuming you sat down with CJ and the town manager or anybody else?
Nope, me and CJ.
You and CJ, okay, and you came up with this new schedule. Rena,
We
you
sat
weren't
down
there?
and
No,
it was-
you weren't
Part
there.
of that.
Nope,
Oh, okay.
just me and CJ.
Just you and CJ. And so, how did you arrive at, there's a good difference between some of the numbers, and it went up quite a bit in some of those numbers. How did you build fit models or something, or?
So using the stats, so the ASRs, the CODs, all of the guidelines that we're required to meet.
Yeah.
Through the Commissioner of Revenue, we were able to tighten those numbers up quite a bit.
Yeah, okay, but they went up.
They changed from the original report.
Yeah.
Not even, I wouldn't even say original report, it's a draft.
Yeah, all right, I agree. It's a white paper. You throw
Yeah.
something out there and see what
So
hits.
they got tightened up quite a
Yeah.
bit.
Okay,
And the stats were much better.
yeah, as soon as you got rid of did you provide them with the data that says this is no longer an arm's length transaction?
Yes. So
Okay.
it's based on the sales
Good
that
man.
I
Okay,
used, not the
good.
ones he used.
Okay,
So when he did it, it wasn't tiered. There was one price for land, no matter where you are on the lake. It was one price per square foot, no matter how nice or steep or
Right.
deep in a cove your lot was. So that was one of the things that we found. And honestly, if he had been here for 2 years, he wouldn't have picked up on, he wouldn't have had time
He would have
to
to
look
look
at
real
every
well.
single house on the lake to say, oh, wait a minute, there are big differences in some of these properties. And prior to me, to us doing that, you may not have had the sales to support those adjustments.
yeah.
That was
Many
part
of
of the
those,
problem.
Yeah.
many of those
And
sales.
the neighborhood to neighborhood even.
Right, if you have an illegal septic system, you can't sell it, you have to give it to a family member or something like that, or put a new septic system in, so a lot of family sales occurred, or, but with COVID, and as crazy as things were, it just, a lot of sales, well, a lot
Sure.
more than normal occurred. So all of a sudden, there was data.
Yeah,
Right.
okay, okay.
Another follow-up to Sarah's
No,
stuff?
no,
Okay.
no,
So he's on to your set of questions, I think?
Okay.
okay.
Okay,
We kind of hit that, but you're saying there wasn't really anything that, slope definitions and,
when you say slope, you mean for topography?
topography.
Okay.
Right, and, some folks you've got to be a mountain climber to get up and down for the first 50 feet, and after that it levels out and turns into a nice rolling green piece. Is there any set of definitions or anything like that floating around that we could use? And I went through the, what do you look for when you're assessing a house and side of things, and no question in my mind now, after reading that, saying, you've got to be looking at the house. You've really got to get in there and see it. Site inspections are worth their weight in the gold,
Yep.
and if anybody that doesn't is a real fool for not doing site inspections, really.
That's just name calling it, but yes.
Yeah, I get
it. Oh, I'm cautious about that.
Cautious, okay,
because-
but, they were really out
We
there
are-
for it. So, and I wondered if anybody had done anything with regard to slopes and properties, because I know some folks have come in and we've had a chance seeing, oh my God, yeah, you got a little slope there.
There were some on there, and I spoke with some folks at RRG, which was the
Yeah.
company prior, and they said they had them.
They had definitions?
Definitions?
There was something
They had
we can use.
adjustments, which a
Adjustments.
lot of them were gone
Yeah.
when we were out there.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened. I know that there was a software conversion, so that could have been wiped out that way.
Yeah,
But usually that gets carried over. But I
You never know how conversion will-
depending on, a few years back, because I have the lakes in Groton, and DOR said, take all your adjustments off. We want all the adjustments, unless you can absolutely prove them, take them all off. And it could have been something like that here, and they got taken off.
It could have been,
I
because there was no
noticed
data.
on-
and take it off, meaning take it off the property card?
Yes.
Information
Remove
off the
the
card?
adjustment. I'll say that, if you have a 5% adjustment on there, or maybe even a 10% adjustment,
It's no,
it won't be questioned.
no.
Oh, really? Okay.
When you
'Cause
got
we have, we
something
just
If you have
did.
a big adjustment,
Yeah.
they're gonna ask, what is
going on?
this?
Yeah.
How did you get to this?
Right.
Yep.
Okay, so it's up to us to develop our own policy with
And
regard to
I
how
know,
to treat
if I remember
slopes?
correctly, you're an engineer.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that might be difficult for you.
Hey,
Because there's a lot of gray. It's an opinion.
exactly,
no
but
ruler
you
you
can,
can
you can
look at
certainly
and
break
say-
it into quadrants
Yeah, you
and
can't.
throw it in
Some
there.
things you can't.
A usable area, you know, if it's more than a 45-degree slope, it's not really usable, or maybe it's more 10-degree slope. Maybe we have to develop policies around
Think
how to
of, yeah,
treat it.
think of it like lot utility. So if you have a really steep slope, you're not gonna use that area
That's right.
for anything. What is,
And if it's all one big piece of granite, you can't put a septic system in, how does that?
Right.
Yeah, and where there's no guidelines I've seen so far, do you have anything like that?
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, that was the question I was trying to get to,
Yeah.
which was, you know, we want to establish as many of those, I'll say, measurables as we can, so
You have
that
to be as
so
consistent
we
as you-
minimize the number of subjective things, and we can look at this list of objective things. And hopefully there are some communities out there that already have some lists someplace, and if they do, we could build on them, or start with those and eliminate stuff we don't like and add stuff that we want to add. But it would be great if we had some kind of a list. So I think that's,
Benchmark them.
yep.
There's a lot of common sense too.
Yeah.
Like Mike
Oh,
said
absolutely,
last week.
that's, sorry.
You put, try it. What happens if you do this, if you put this adjustment on the land? You have a gut feeling a lot of times if you're really familiar with the market, like, oh, no, that's too low.
Yeah.
That's too much.
And then you gotta go by your sales too. If the
Right,
sales don't justify, if somebody bought something that sits up high and they have steps that go down, that's what they wanted. They might have paid a lot for it.
They may have.
They don't really
Right.
care about, right?
Yeah,
I guess I'm looking for something like, when you go and evaluate the house, you go look at the age of the house, and that becomes the determinant in terms
That's
of.
all in our database.
Yeah, that's
though.
in our data in there, and I just wondered if that extended beyond the house into the
Land.
land, and for that matter, integrating water quality. I had a chance to go see somebody the other day, and they were saying, look at this place, with the drawdowns there, it's all mud. It's a beautiful estuary, right now, low tide, but how should we be counting that and considering that, and
how much less would somebody pay for that?
right now, a lot less.
No, but
Yeah, but you
knowing
gotta
that this
think about
happens.
sale.
So if a good portion of the year, it's not like that, but your season's a little shorter than some of your neighbors, how is that affecting the value?
Right.
Yeah,
When you put it up for sale, is
Right.
someone going to pay X amount less for it?
right, they don't show pictures,
And you need to see trends.
yeah.
Right.
You need people to support those
So
adjustments.
it's time of the year would be an indicator of value then?
No, well, that's, I don't
If
think
it's
that's
sold-
what,
You're going
if
through a
it's so-
divorce, maybe.
Oh, just grab your jacket and leave and just.
pick your stuff up off the lawn.
Well, that happened to me. Yeah, so I didn't live there no more. Okay,
You just have to remember, it's all relates to sales.
Right.
right, and is the time of year a factor
I'm sorry.
in with regard to the perceived
That's right.
value and what they get? And so, do you average that out, or?
So, I don't know how to answer the question, but as we said, we have a lot of things we can check off on a building and say, here are the things that make it better or worse. And we'd like to have a similar list, and it doesn't have to be the same list.
For land.
Yeah.
For land. And I think that way we maximize the amount of objective things we can
There's a lot of
refer to.
judgment.
Yeah.
And then there are some
Calls.
things that you just
It
can't.
is.
What I'm hearing is there's a bunch of uncertainty in the land part because we probably don't have enough sales to necessarily delineate those,
Generally,
Yeah.
that's true, yeah.
Especially on the lakes and stuff.
even though we want to.
As long as they're applied consistently, so like last week, Mr. Storm was here. If you have a property like that, then other people with similar situations,
Yeah,
Want to
similar
be treated
adjustments.
similarly, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right. I think I kind of, I'm sorry.
Are you still,
I'm going to work on my list.
oh, he's got your
Oh,
list.
okay.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So where are we?
Number B.
Okay. How do you grade a bathroom or kitchen, age, wear, cool devices? So cool devices might end up in extra, if there's a place on the card for extra features. So if you have a tub and a shower, for instance.
Yeah, that vibrates at the same time.
You might put that in the extra features column.
Yeah,
which will apply more of a value. It'll basically say, it'll treat it as a second tub or second shower or something
Okay,
like that.
that's noted.
As far as grading, I mean, so when you talk about grade, it's referring to the quality of construction.
Right.
So is it average grade? Is it below grade? So is it builder grade with vinyl counters and cabinets from Home Depot? Or is it average grade? Maybe you have semi-custom cabinets and maybe a tile floor, or, you know, you can go all the way up. Maybe
Right,
the
right.
cabinets are made out of gold with marble floors. That would be an
Right.
excellent grade.
And then there's an age factor that you apply against that. So if you bought something that was really top of the line 20 years ago, and you haven't really done anything to it, you drop the grades. You do.
So you would
Depreciated.
have, you would have depreciation on kitchens and baths, so
Yeah.
the grade would refer to the whole building as a whole. So,
Okay.
it would be very rare to change the grade of a property unless it was a complete gut renovation.
Okay,
And
yeah, or tear
really
down.
high under, low end
Yeah.
compared to what it was.
Okay,
Everything else would be depreciation, and all of those things are driven from tables, based on the year built.
okay.
And condition.
So if I sell a hot tub with a house, and it's a pretty elaborate hot tub, what do
Is
you
it
do?
outside?
Yeah, some of them are outside, but they're pretty elaborate.
Yeah.
It's a yard item.
Yeah, so you can put, okay, so,
It's transportable, maybe.
no, but this is a different, that's a good question.
Yeah.
So you can put grades on yard items.
Oh, okay.
Which are separate from the building itself.
Right,
So,
right.
you know, some people have very elaborate outdoor kitchens and stuff like that where you can.
And
put a-
pool would be in the same category, right?
Yep, you can put a grade on a pool.
Okay.
But a yard item wouldn't be something necessary, like a retaining wall or
No.
septic system.
No,
That would just be
Those
part
aren't
of regular
valued.
maintenance.
right. If you have a retaining wall, you probably need it, so your house doesn't fall down. So, it's not
not
considered, yeah.
Traffic, volume, noise, noisy neighbors occasionally,
Noisy neighbors,
like,
you mean like the next door neighbor has a lot of parties?
like
Call the police.
4 months parties in
Yeah,
a row?
I know
mean,
where you're
out
going.
on the
So,
weekend?
Again, look at the market, did those sell for less? There was a sale on Sunset, where I think there's a new house going up right now.
Yeah,
How does that sale price compare to,
I meant to
is
look
that
at.
showing that it's,
Yeah, I meant
that
to look
it's
at that.
sold for
Affected.
less because it's right across the street from
Shady
Shady
Point.
Point? I believe that's right next to your property. Right. So look at those sales. Are those sales showing, wait, these people got a steal on these properties because, wonder why? And if the only difference is they're across from Shady Point and other people aren't, then, okay, you might be able to extract an adjustment from there.
Yeah, there's an arc of homes and
Yeah.
right across from it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And clearly the quality of life from Friday through Sunday night is less than what it would be the rest of the year. But that's the best time of year. So
Right.
we can use what is a qualifying factor, a CF? Is that the term?
Oh, condition factor?
Condition factor?
If the market shows it.
Only if the market
You need
shows.
market data to support your adjustments.
Okay.
So what did those people pay for those lots? What did someone buy that house for?
Okay.
Did they get a great deal because of what's going on out there in the summer? If you can't show that, then there's no adjustment there.
And a lot of people aren't aware when it's sold.
Well,
I mean, a ton of them.
but you still have to work with the sales
Sale
data.
price, yep, I get that. Street lights and hydrants, does that have any effect?
No.
No. Street traffic,
Could,
it could. It could be another CF.
you could do a traffic adjustment for like Reservoir Road or like Townsend Harbor, like where your house
Yeah.
is. You could apply a traffic adjustment if the market supports it.
Yeah.
Also too, in when I did up that data collection manual, there's a whole section in there on traffic and,
Oh, excellent.
you know,
Okay.
light, heavy, you know,
Yeah.
where they are. Are they on a numbered road?
Mhm.
Are they on Chase Road, on Main Street?
State road or something.
Yeah.
Where all the semis go.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Usually they're used in like extreme, so typically if you have a high traffic area, so I'm thinking of, what's a busy street?
Lancaster
Chase
Ave.
Road,
So
Lancaster.
sometimes
Yeah.
that road might be in its own valuation neighborhood.
Oh,
So you don't want to just go apply traffic adjustments to everybody,
right.
you know? You want to use those kind of factors minimally, and if you can, sometimes you can create a neighborhood. So I'm, right off the top of my head, I'm thinking of, you know, maybe if you live on Route 20,
Mm-hmm.
most of your, you might be your house might be in a commercial zone.
Oh,
You
okay.
might, because it's a residential property where it would benefit a commercial property, maybe a resident.
Then
would
you'd apply the
want it.
CF.
Or if they're on a corner lot that is on, you know, Route 20 to a
Mm-hmm. Right.
side street or something like that.
So how do people go participate? I mean, ask for consideration? Is that, it's taking a whole neighborhood and it's a big deal, isn't it? Or do you have to get the Board
To
of
make a
Assessors
new
to declare it?
neighborhood?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not, I
You
don't.
have to have some good sales to support.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think Lunenburg needs it. And honestly, did we get a neighborhood map yet?
All we have is that one that he had a few minutes ago, with the colors on it.
Yeah.
Don't know who did it, don't know where it came from.
What is this?
When it
I
was
didn't
done,
see it.
No
it
document.
just showed up on the wall.
It's on the wall.
Yeah, I have it.
It's the one on the wall.
Yeah.
Is it new?
No,
No.
it's been there forever.
It's,
The town needs a new neighborhood
it's a,
map.
yep,
Yeah,
Yeah, big one, where you can
Yep.
see the streets on it.
yep.
yes.
Because I would love to see it, just to see how we tiered those properties. Does it make sense?
Right.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that there's nobody on the point that we put in below average by accident.
Yeah,
And that's what those maps are great for.
Yeah, I
They
don't
are.
know who did that.
CAI is your GIS, they should,
That's our GIS, but
They should be able to do
the
it.
one that Jack has,
Mm-hmm.
it was on the wall and it shows the lake in like yellow.
It predates us all.
so it doesn't reflect the new changes.
no.
No,
No.
Not at
No,
all.
don't know
Yeah, and
when it
that's
was done,
how-
who did it.
that's
So,
how we
but,
get,
Seriously
but,
hard.
yeah.
but we could ask CAI to do one,
Yep.
right? Is that a reasonable request from them, for them?
And I would have them do it by, do you have more than one neighborhood with the same price?
I don't think so.
Sometimes that happens too, so they
Okay, so
can change sometimes, but say neighborhood
it's
three,
just the,
3 and 4, based on sales data over the years, could just become the same price per square foot. You want to keep those neighborhoods because market changes, but, so you'd want to have them do it by the pricing, not, so it could be that every single valuation neighborhood has a different price.
yep.
But if there are any duplicates, get it that way, because it'll make more sense.
Yep. Good question. Go ahead. Ron, you got more?
Okay, street lights, hydrants, septic versus sewer.
No.
No differentiation?
No.
I
Gotta
found,
have it, one or the other.
yeah, I know you gotta have them, one way or another, you gotta have them. And, but the thing, what I came across was that this new legislation now gives you a tax credit for the person that puts a new septic system in. I believe it's like $18,000 tax credit for,
You get tax credits for solar panels too, and they're not.
yeah, they're not taxed. But if you can come back, if you put a new replacement septic system in, they're gonna give you, the state's gonna help you for the tune. It
Yeah.
doesn't make any
Doesn't
difference at
change
all.
anything.
Yeah.
for
Right,
us.
I was thinking
Valuation
that
of
could
the
help
It won't
property.
change the market value.
Yeah, that could help us, because a lot of people come as.
It's attractive, it might help sell it quicker, or it might be great for the
Yeah.
homeowner that gets that rebate, but it doesn't change the market.
Right, that's what I was thinking, because they come back.
It's not a sale.
Yeah, they all say, oh, I've got a really old septic system, it should be worth less.
You-
Guess what, you can go out and get it,
You-
go replace it. Yeah,
You either have a septic system that works or you don't.
right. Okay, just a real quick question, the senior tax, have you seen other towns that do a really good job with senior relief?
What are you talking about? Which
Tax
program?
relief, all the schedules, all the creative stuff that might go on with it. Who does a really good job of taking care of the seniors from an assessor's perspective? Who's,
So are you there's a lot of different programs, so are
Yeah.
you like senior work-off programs?
that'd be one of them, who does that real well?
I mean, it's pretty much done the same everywhere,
Yeah,
but what, in regards to
They,
what?
well, they just raised it, okay, and they went from 150 hours to 200 hours.
That's
And I,
determined by the selectmen. At least it was in Groton, when we brought in the senior work-off program. All those, how many hours each person, how many people could be allowed into the program.
That doesn't affect the value of the house.
Yeah,
No,
it was all
understand that.
determined by the selectmen.
well, so the question then becomes, can you do something with bringing somebody in our office? Can we do their workup? And I believe the selectmen would be approving that. Where is the thing? I'm going to put that on hold because my brain just went away for a second.
Well, Julie's in charge of that. It's-
So see
It's
Julie?
not going to come out of our
Okay.
office.
And for that matter, never mind, okay. What town is a leader in helping seniors, other state agencies that focus on relief? And I'll go see Julie and see if she knows. If anybody else, are there any assessors' offices that are aggressively trying to help seniors? Are there any training programs? I know Rena, you're putting together a training package, and I was wondering if there's any other good models for that.
There's a few different programs, I mean, even, I don't know, like the senior means test.
Yes,
So I'm friendly with the person that basically wrote that legislation, if you want to talk to him.
okay.
But I haven't dealt with it personally.
Okay.
I know the town of Concord, actually tonight, might become the first town to have a residential exemption and senior means.
Oh, they do
That'll
two?
be interesting.
They can do two. So they
the
usually
first
say only
one.
do one. They're gonna
that's
go
gonna
with
go.
two? Ooh, okay.
I'd probably quit if I was.
I'm done. Nate, thank you so much. It's
No
always
problem.
good. So, thank you so much.
And you guys can email me independently questions.
I
if you have-
appreciate that, yeah.
As long
Okay,
as
just-
it's not a meeting.
If I could just ask that if you are emailing Nate, we could all get copied on that, please, so that way we see the questions and we see the answers consistently. It's not like we're trying to deliberate on anything, but if there's some.
Right, no deliberation.
There you go, we get
I'm
it.
tired too.
Easy for you to say.
No deliberation on anything.
But if, just share the questions so that we all know what the questions are, what the answers are, so that we're all. playing
And
the
when
same.
it gets FOIA requested, you can just send it, so. Yeah,
Super.
that makes sense.
Thank you.
Anything else for Nate? Thank you very much for coming out. We didn't hold you quite as long as we did last time.
I don't,
Excuse me, you were talking about the tax classification hearing.
yes.
Nate said he could do that if you wanted to.
I'll absolutely do it.
The,
He does his own presentation, just like you sent us, you gave us.
Yeah, I'm not sure what, I sent a sample.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what it looked like last year, but I usually would do a PowerPoint, and it would show
Yeah.
where everybody's going.
Did you do Melroses?
What's that?
Did you do Melroses?
We can talk about Melrose offline.
Okay. Okay, it was a good PowerPoint, there's lots of other stuff. Okay, yeah, that's good to know, that really is.
Yep, cool. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
No problem.
How much lead time do you need on that?
On the classification hearing?
Yeah,
just change.
I mean, I don't think it'll happen in January, until January, but,
Okay.
everybody's starting to clear up right now, so it would be the only one I'd be working on at that time of year, so.
so we,
Especially in January, because abatements you don't deal with until
Right.
February,
Yeah.
so.
Right.
So we might get some focused resource.
resources,
Yeah.
that's what we need, help.
Yeah.
All right, so we would give you an RFP, about when would you want one?
For that, it wouldn't be an RFP, I think it would just be our normal contract.
Oh, okay, established
Yeah.
contract, even better,
The
okay,
contract is very general, it just pretty much, whatever you guys need.
okay.
But we need a lot. So thank you.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm so glad you're here, Nate. Thank you.
I enjoy it.
Yeah, You do well.
I told Michael Ray once, I said, it's a good thing your tax revenue isn't based on how nice the residents are, because you'd be broke.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it very much.
So I don't need these, right?
You don't need those.
Okay,
Okay.
all set?
Hey, thank you.
All right,
Thank you very
no
much.
problem.
Okay.
Have a good
This is
night.
from, who had these?
I think you've got it.
I
Read it, okay.
copied them off
Okay.
the email to give to Nate.
I'll just file
Have a
it.
good night.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
Thanks, Nate. And we're still working our way through Rena, the questions I had for Rena.
I did.
Right?
Oh, thank God.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh,
Let's give a second here for,
Okay.
oh, that's right.
okay,
Okay.
you still have some questions for the
Yes.
principal assessor's report?
That would be correct.
Okay.
Rena, when I pulled up, you were asking, I was over your office, you were asking about the property tax exemptions, and 41A deferrals, it wasn't, I didn't see it listed there.
We don't have anybody that
Right.
qualifies for that.
We haven't,
You-
they have to get it voted on by the town, right? Or is that,
Well, it has to be accepted by the town. I
Right.
don't know if the town has accepted that one or not, because we do not have anybody in that program. And it could be just because we do not have anybody that qualifies for it. You have to be just about destitute.
the thing is, the 41, 42, 43 and a half, which one is the half? Eliminates a lot of that. And I know they only allow
use the
one,
41C,
41C,
yes.
Didn't we talk
And a
about that
half.
last time?
41C and a
Okay.
half. And Nate just told us that the town was going in for I don't know what town it was going in for two. They usually only allow you to have one. Concord.
He said
Yeah, but
Concord
that's-
would be the
that's-
first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's different. You're
Okay.
talking about a residential exemption
Well-
and then something on your side.
Right, so if we told people about it, it wouldn't hurt, would it? I don't
Well, we
think.
don't have it. It would have to be
We'd have to get it
accepted at
approved by the
meeting.
town.
But then you can only have one. On the 40s, you can only have one.
Yes.
And right now, the 41C is the most generous, so I don't think you want to change that.
Okay, let me keep looking. I'm hearing and probably agreeing with you, but I don't know. And all I know is that it was not there, and there was nothing with regard to circuit breaker?
That has nothing to do with our office. That's
It's-
totally on your federal taxes.
Is it all on your federal
Yes,
taxes?
it has nothing to do with the assessors office at all.
I know you've said that, and for some reason I was reading something, I said, oh, it involves us, okay, but,
No,
No,
it
it involves individuals who are paying taxes, property taxes, but it doesn't affect
We do.
and
what
what
we're
the
doing
town
as far
does?
as, right.
Okay. Thank you there. Okay, hey, question, when we last meeting, we talked about the fact that we had collected some reimbursements for the state with regard to the 41Cs as well as, 41Cs. And you were confident that Sheila was doing them, but have we actually gone out and collected the reimbursements for the state?
That's a check directly to the town accountant.
Yes.
We turn them in and they cut,
Okay,
state
did we-
cuts
did
a
we turn in-
reimbursement check goes to the town.
Did we turn in the request to the town to go and
I
get
go
the
Not
money?
to the town, to the state.
No, we go online and like, a couple of weeks ago,
Uh-huh.
I went in and put all the veterans exemptions in.
Yeah,
And all these, the 41Cs, the 17s, whatever else, and we submit them, they get approved by the Department of Revenue, and then the Department of Revenue sends a check directly to the town, to
To
the
the
town
town.
accountant. That's- All we do is submit.
okay, so we've submitted stuff for a couple of years ago, and, because, well, there was a conversation where Nate had indicated, and we'd kind of...
That was on excise tax for veterans. They hadn't been submitted, so I submitted 22 and 23 at the same time. The state allowed
Okay.
me to do that.
And you're up to 2 years late, too, from what I understand.
We were limited to doing 2 years, and the state was willing to give us 2 years.
2 years. Okay, so I'm looking at MD1 fiscal year 2023, and there was nothing in there, but then we corrected it, I guess, is that what it was?
That's all submitted. It's all submitted now.
Okay.
The MD ones.
Okay. And then, no one's doing deferrals, the 41A?
No?
Wow. Okay, are you gonna share that with, we haven't approved it as a town, so we wouldn't wanna share it, okay?
Well, why would you
because-
want to,
Because
you're
we had
you're
40
hanging something out in front, I'm sorry, Sarah, I'll let you talk. because-
I was just gonna say, she just talked about that with the 41C, it's the most lucrative, and you're only allowed to have one at a time, so why would we switch to 41A when nobody's
I'm
qualified
not
for
saying
it?
switch, I'm just saying, if you look at all the literature that's coming out from the state, they say, go take a look at this 41A, and.
Yeah, which we don't have anybody who's qualified for it, and 41C is still,
For 41A, you have to be financially, you have to be below the poverty line. You have to be, I believe it,
You couldn't.
the law actually says, there's three qualifications, I got it right here. Veterans, blind.
Okay, your income gross receipts for previous
What?
calendar,
She's
20,000.
gonna get
Okay.
it.
we'll talk about
I
it.
got it right here. Okay.
So your income gross receipts for the previous year cannot exceed $20,000.
Right,
That's
right.
what,
And I do know of a family, an elderly woman, who is being allowed to stay in her house because the family's basically paying all those other pieces. And so her income is not that great, her social security. So we wouldn't want to say anything. Where else
No,
would
no,
they
the
pick
point
it?
is, we get to choose whether it's, sorry.
Yeah.
The point is, we get to choose whether it's 41A or 41C.
I think
I've always-
you can have a 41A and a 41C. You can't have a 41C and a half, a 41,
Right.
whatever the other one is.
Oh, okay.
Only
Oh,
one.
But you can
Okay.
have a
Oh,
41A.
that's
It's-
different than I
that's
understood, I'm
different
sorry.
than what I
Thank you
was
for the
hearing.
clarification.
Right.
And
It's
that's a
just
good
that we
push.
don't-
There's only one.
That's a good
There's
push.
only- Okay, so, do we want to include that in the presentation for, at the senior center, that's all. I haven't seen the package yet, and if you could send me what you plan on sharing?
The only other thing I have is all these that were printed from DSL, and I'll make
Right,
copies of them.
right, DLS.
DLS.
It's late. Rena, you're doing great.
DH,
Okay,
thank you, that's a good push. I didn't realize that, so that's,
that's okay.
I miss,
How do we look at building permit process? Okay,
is it, this is still a follow-up to
Still
the
for
interim? Okay.
interim assessors. Okay, we'd asked last week with regard to the processes that occurred in terms of the building permits and making sure we saw everything, and you were saying Sheila was making sure we got those out there. Did we find anything when she did her little review? Are we assured?
We have not missed anything.
Okay.
There are things
and the-
that have started
Mhm.
and they might have taken out permits in June or July,
Yeah, that's,
August. Those will go for next year. You got
Yeah.
to give them a chance to get the project going.
oh, I get that in the percentage
So
completion.
we're pretty much all
But what
in
about, yeah, we know that CJ had shared with us, and what we found out from folks inside was that this process that they used had been suspended because the past building.
Sheila took care of all that with the building inspector, getting all the
She's
notifications.
Totally confident that she
Yes.
went back and got everything,
Yeah.
and they didn't find anything? Did they go and look at the sites, or?
I don't think Rena said they didn't find anything, just everything's now found. Or she believes she's found everything, so.
All the big projects And that's what I focused on, new construction.
Yeah. Yeah, the permits.
Everything that is either ready for occupancy permits or has gotten occupancy permits is done.
Yeah,
That's the important stuff. The little things like the pools and the decks and the garages,
and the sunrooms.
we've got all those, and, you know, those are things that, if you had a data collector, they could go out on a
Right.
daily basis and look at
Which
that
is-
kind of stuff.
That's where I was leading you
All the
to.
big
Don't we
stuff
need
is-
one of those?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we
All the
do.
big stuff is in.
Hey, and one of the things I did notice was, in this just one session of the local paper, I can't use the name, I guess I could, but we had 5 houses being permitted through conservation at the time, just that one week. And we had 6 septic systems, which were all, again, replacements, which were all tax deductible. I was like, wow, that's interesting.
But it doesn't affect the value of the property.
If, in terms of new growth, and in terms of,
Septic doesn't matter, just the housing.
well, I just wanted to share that, folks, remind your tax guy to go do with that. And the audit assessor's notifications. Okay, that was that one. We collect the reimbursements, we got that one. I'm stopping.
But that's all for the, that's all you have for the
Well,
principal assessor?
okay, here we go. Okay, the sales analysis reports. There was an LA4 and the LA3,
LA3 is just sales.
the sales,
That's
right?
what gets submitted to Boston.
Right, and so the question becomes, have we been able to identify at this point for what's going on for this past year, arm's length versus not arm's length? We have,
Nate's been through them, I've been through them,
Okay.
Mike Torello's been through them.
okay. And then the other one is the LA4. Never mind, I'll go with
What's that?
later.
The LA4 is your totals for the year.
Totals.
We're not ready for the LA4 yet,
Right.
because we haven't got the values.
Okay, yeah, because I was wondering why they was off by, one's almost 1.8 billion and the other one's 1.7 or 1.6, why there was a difference, but nope, you haven't finished yet, you answered the question.
Okay,
Okay, that's all I have for interim assessor questions.
fabulous. Thank you. There were some really good questions in there.
Well, thank you.
And some I bit my tongue on.
Oh, don't do that, don't do that.
Status of the community outreach, the senior center thing, we sort of touched on it a bit, but what's the current status? When will somebody be going to the senior center?
I-
With what?
I am remiss. I should have
Okay.
made an appointment with you, Rena, the last
Well,
couple of weeks, and I've just
you
been
know-
flat out doing everything else.
So it's really, they can start filing all their exemptions after the first of the year.
Yeah,
So it should be closer to,
we can get close.
you know,
And then.
Sooner rather than later? Is that what I'm hearing?
no, a little bit later.
Okay.
And you'll be doing an overview of just the other options and packages that are available as
Yeah.
part of your presentation? Yeah. I haven't had a chance to touch
That's
base
fine.
and see.
Oh, That's why it's status. We don't have completion, we have status. Status of requests for improved collaboration with the town manager. Did everyone, I think, get a copy of the insert? That
Yes.
has the draft insert that came from the town manager.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that, the
Is there something in there
collaboration piece?
that you think is missing?
Okay.
You think something that we really need to add? I'm trying to keep it brief enough so people actually read the whole thing,
Yeah,
but also give people enough information that they understand what's going on.
it's in here.
I thought it was a pretty good synopsis of where we are, and I don't have any suggested changes.
I do.
Good.
If I could. Okay, I had a chance to look at some others and other letters going out to the towns, other towns as well.
Wait,
But
on this subject,
on this subject, it's just in this
there's
subject.
only one other town that's done one.
What's that?
She definitely-
Third quarter
that's-
is-
Oh, this quarter, but even letters and things like that,
What-
whenever they communicate, okay. If there's a communications, usually you try to attach a visual, some sort of a timeline that associates some of these events, the deadlines and things, and just gives people a chance to look at a picture or something. and try to decipher the picture. You know, the old saying, a picture's worth 1,000 words. No one reads 1,000 words. They try to decipher the picture first, and what does this mean? And so if we're going to try and make this as clear as we possibly can, could we include some sort of visual image or some boxes or something like that that people can focus on? Because a big chunky...
You're better off just putting all that kind of stuff on the website.
Oh,
All that
yes.
information on the website.
Yeah,
Well-
and
And you can only put certain things in a tax bill.
yeah, just the letter, this is what we're doing, we're throwing it in that mail, right? Into that mail with the tax notices?
We're allowed to put this in because we want people to know, but a lot of communities, the tax collectors do not let other departments put mailers in the tax bills.
Right. And I'm not suggesting, I'm suggesting a little addition or something down the bottom that gives people a chance. When you write to the a 10th grade reading level, right? Isn't that what you do when you do your tests and stuff? You look at reading, readability?
But that's kind of a rat hole, but I agree with you, we need, I think,
Comprehension increases dramatically when you put a picture or something in there, an image.
I would agree with you on that, and I was going to suggest that we maybe put in a little bit of just a timeline that shows that, here's the date for, the new date for abatement applications. Just a
It's in
timeline.
there. It's
I
in
know
there.
the words are there, but he was suggesting something visual, and I think we, just to put in a little timeline that says it's
I
now,
think you better check with Heather,
it's
'cause she's-
February, oh, well,
Yeah,
we're
I think you
working
better
together
check.
with her, and this
Yeah.
is her draft to us,
Right.
and here's our, we need to create some feedback to her. Now, I won't be able to do that till next week, but I think it's worthwhile trying to put some, just, doesn't have to be much, just a little bit of a timeline. I agree with you that it's nice to be able to visualize. So if you say, you know, original abatement requests would have been February 1st, now moved over to May 1st. The sewer liens, fourth quarter bill will not be included in the third quarter preliminary, so sewer bills are out here. Just something that people can see what moved, what changed. Because listing them is great, and this tells me everything I think we need to know. Everything that I think most taxpayers need to know. But it doesn't put it in a thing that they can actually, if they could visualize it, I think that might make sense. So I'll take that back to Heather.
Yeah.
I will take that back to
Oh,
Heather
I'm-
next week. Good
okay.
suggestion, Mr. Rabbit. I think it's a great idea, just to have a little something there. It doesn't
Sure.
have to be big.
Well, I'll put it in the context of time,
Yep.
easily.
So was there anything that you think, anything that was missing from the list that she provided?
I didn't see anything missing.
No, nor did I, but,
Yeah.
and you, obviously, you may have found something.
That's why there's
that-
three.
No, I haven't.
I think, I'll take
And
that.
it's that very likely, the underlying part that jumps out at you, and you're saying, oh my God, I better buckle down, there's a big storm coming. You're going to generate a lot of questions on that one.
Which one?
What?
The last one, it says, underlined, very likely the fourth quarter will receive an increase larger than normal.
Well,
I think it's clear that it's because it wasn't spread over 2 quarters, it's only one
Yeah.
quarter.
Yeah, and so...
And you're right, there'll be a hailstorm. I'll be nice.
Hailstorm, and somehow, maybe you could, 2 visuals, a timeline and just a little bit of tax history in terms of what happened to help answer that question.
I think, I don't, we could do that, but I think it's still gonna be incomplete. Like, we'll get in the weeds with that list, I think, pretty
Well-
quickly. But, and I also think we want them to know when their bill is coming, and we want them to expect it to be higher, and they can come here and ask all the questions.
I agree.
Okay.
Draw a line to it. This is the thing.
Okay. As I said, we're on the status of request for improved collaboration. We have an existing contract. We don't have all the existing contracts because, as Nate just said, his is very broad, and I'm not sure how broad it is. I expect to try to get a copy of that once Heather gets back, because I think it's just probably a
Is she on vacation?
2-paragraph, she's out this week.
In some of them, like CAI, service contracts.
It's a service
Yeah.
contract. So,
And
but
Heather
could
did
we get a
ex-
copy of the service contract is the
She
question,
did
and I think we
explain
have
that
them.
last time.
Yes, she did. As, this is where I was going to bring up the fact that I've been invited to, as the chairman, to a couple of different meetings. One is a meeting with CAI, and one is a meeting with the Department of Revenue, and including Mike, and I don't know if Nate's on that one. Yeah, Nate's in,
No, he's not.
didn't he feedback that Mike was unavailable, and Mike, I think, anyway, so I'll be sitting in on several of the sessions with the town manager and some of the resources that we're using. And,
It's Becky
and,
and Rena.
and Rena. She better be there. She better be there. So that's,
Okay.
Question,
Go ahead.
Mr. Basically, the Board of Assessors, or you or yourself, Maureen, do you have, she has monthly financial reviews?
she who?
Heather, excuse me, the town manager.
Okay.
Town manager.
Yep.
And are you sitting in on that?
not.
What's that? No? Rena, are you?
No, we have a department head meeting once a month, but
Yeah.
it isn't anything financial, it's just what all the
Yeah,
departments are doing.
the DOR training and stuff they did with it, they said they did, the towns will or should or have to, and that you need to be sitting in. Somebody as a.
From the assessors.
Organization.
Now, show me that.
Rena.
If you-
I
that's
will.
a good- If you
Didn't
could
I
show me
show it
that,
to you
'cause I
last
don't,
week?
I don't, not that one.
Okay.
Not that I recall.
I'll get it. I'll
Not
get
that
it.
I recall.
No, that's all right.
I don't have perfect recall, so if you did, great.
Jane's got a memory class, she's putting on in another
Oh,
week.
that's another digression, so let's not go there.
Okay.
What, we have now a list of probably 30 or 35 questions that we've gotten from the general populace. I know that Nate has tried to answer some of the questions from at least one of the questioners, inquiries. What can we do about putting those questions, getting those questions in front of Nate, and not just Nate, but whomever can answer them, and then try to get them on the website? We sent a copy to Nate of the second round of questions from Mr. Luck. And I don't know if he's had a chance to look at those yet or not. I probably should have asked that before
Yeah,
I
we should
forgot.
ask him.
I forgot. Sorry, I forgot.
Well, he said he's been very busy, because don't forget, this
Now
is
is-
the time
yes.
most of the communities are being certified.
Yep. So, I'll try to, we'll try to follow up with Nate on that and whomever else, because some of the questions won't be names. Won't be things that Nate should
And
answer.
Nate said you can email him any questions you want to.
Right. So we have those questions, and I want to respond to them all. And if we group some of them together and there's one response to 3 questions, that's okay, but I really want to follow up and get it out there at the website. As a transparency thing.
Every time, right?
Every time.
Okay. Social report.
Okay. We're moving on to new business. We have received a comparison of the Melrose website to the Lunenburg website for assessors-based information. Melrose seemed to be very extensive. And I was wondering what kind of feedback you guys had from your reviews of Melrose and Lunenburg.
I didn't, I haven't had time to look.
That's okay. It was more at the rest of the board. Did you have, go ahead.
Oh, I did,
Sorry.
thank you. I did have a chance to go look at the Melrose site, and it's really good. I also, Heather's office had produced a comparison between Lunenburg, what Lunenburg had, and what their Melrose site had. Their, God, don't tell me I didn't include this, I must have. In any case, there was a lot of things that we should be including on our website, and I didn't think we were going to have a discussion, but I think that we could be here for 10 hours working on that
Well,
piece.
we're going to start the
And-
discussion, that's
yeah.
all. We don't necessarily have to conclude it
And-
today, and this will remain, this was new business.
Mhm.
It will remain on the agenda as old business for
Right.
future agendas, so.
Okay, the thing is, what I walked away with is, first of all, we need site maps, a site map for it that illustrates. So I went out and built a site map as related to what we're showing in the town right now, and I only did one of them, but And then I looked at what Melrose was doing, I looked at Littleton, I looked at Groton, I looked at Lancaster. Most of them are pretty run-of-the-mill. Melrose was outstanding in that they did little things like, vision, mission, ethics statements and things like that, which I thought, how do you run an organization without a vision and mission? And they were doing the right stuff. And there are things that are sitting on our site that occupy a lot of space, total assessment investigation reports. I get that, the tax assessment investigations, which I think we're due to a couple others. But is anybody really interested in the LA 15 2014 report? Do we really want to have that occupying space and putting in it? Is it really needed? The property tax resources, the assessments in 2021. Okay, if you're really interested in that, then property questionnaires is a Q&A section. It was okay. It was consistent with the area. Melrose was heads above, and I think that's where we want to go and borrow stuff. And I can't believe
So if I could just
Yeah.
add a little to that. You made a great observation. We have some data out there that's probably not as timely or interesting for folks. So I would suggest that we put together an archive.
Yes.
And all the stuff goes to the archive that we don't think is really
Right.
pertinent but it needs to be out there because somebody's going to come looking for it. And so that we could move some of that, I'll call it detritus, into the archives, and then just keep the important stuff on the top. And I think that makes sense. That's a really good observation on your part, that, we have a lot of stuff out there, but some of it's kind of useless.
Useless. And so the other thing about it was that they grabbed you. Melrose did a nice job in terms of people, if someone wanted to see it, you had regular kind of news flashes that showed up. And then also they went outside of the area, specifically what you think is just taxes? No, that's what caused me to start looking at other pieces, like helping the seniors and stuff. It was just well done, and you wouldn't mind going and looking at it, but it didn't have a site map. It had a column of pieces. It didn't have that map. But I think that we can use them as an ideal benchmark, put that stuff in, load some more human stuff in there, and people will probably want to go with it. And by the way, even the format of our meetings, I put a lot of stuff in there that was kind of interesting, but they were doing the same thing, and where you got to recognize that a third of our population is 60 and over, and we're trying to get them to understand what's happening. We're trying to get them to start volunteering and things. So, and I kind of saw some of that in the Melrose piece. So maybe that becomes part of our vision as to what we want our website to look like.
I would like to suggest something.
Yes, dear.
Since you have a great deal of interest and a great deal of, I would call it expertise on some of this, if you could work with the person that's doing the website, our website, her name, I forgot her name. I met her, oh, darn.
The town website?
She sits right out here. Anyway,
Okay.
maybe we could, have you working with her a little bit
Sure.
on with some of the suggestions. Now, it's going to take some time to put all this stuff together because that's a rather large project.
Right, it
There's
is.
a lot to be done.
And it gets bigger than you
But if
think.
I'm sure it's huge, and I'm not
It's-
interested in doing it.
I hear you.
What I would love
But, okay, the
What I
other,
would love to see on that is the new neighborhood map. When we
yes.
get
Sure.
it.
Oh, there's a lot of
I'd
pieces that
love
we
to see
need.
that, like,
Sure, and then-
right on the front. I think that would be really helpful.
And the other thing we might want to look at is the fact that the data is not necessarily current
Today.
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 It was.
Well,
Yeah,
we
and
know that.
it needs a lot of different tweaks and updates in different sections.
And- Right.
No disagreement there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
absolutely.
So, that's, I think, yes. If that's okay, would you mind taking that as a pet project?
A pet project, I got it. Don't we have the seniors as a pet project too? Okay.
You
Well, that one,
already
that one, there are a couple of deliverables, and you may put together a proposal, and then most of that's going to be done, the senior piece.
Yeah,
The website, I think, is going to be an ongoing
Constant.
evolving process.
Right, I'm interested in seeing, as I shared with you, our state representative coming and sharing with us what they're seeing and potentially loading that in, and with regard to the senior, helping seniors in some angles, because I really do believe that on the deferral piece, and there's another one, that it's going up every year. And one case, you can take almost 20% of the average value of a home, and essentially looking for, I think it's deferral, up to 20% on that. So let me keep mapping that out. I need to do more work on that. You kind of had me stop the last meeting, to don't go too far, focus on that piece, and like said, Rena, I let you down. I didn't
Oh.
come along.
I think we have, knock them down. Yeah,
Listen,
she wouldn't have had time anyway.
I know. Hey, I don't know how in the world you're doing it, bless your heart. You're a superstar right now. You are.
This is whack-a-mole, so we need to whack some moles.
Okay, let's go whack some more balls.
So thank you on that, for volunteering, or I volunteered you to help.
Now, I'm
out
gonna
on the
talk to
website.
Deb about this.
Thank you.
You're gonna have to come over and do some painting.
And I don't know if there are other suggestions. Actually, yours was a really good suggestion, to get the neighborhood map up there as quickly as possible,
Yeah.
once we have the updated one. So
And
that's
the
perfect.
commonly asked questions that we're getting.
And the commonly asked
answers,
questions.
yeah.
Yeah, so those are things that we would add that I don't think we saw out at the Melrose website. So we may take theirs as a basis and say, we don't need that, we don't need that. Yes, we
Exactly.
want to add this and add this and add
And
this.
her sort did it, and I just can't believe I don't have it printed. But in either case, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you want, and there's a couple of other good ones and little ones in the towns, but the ethics part grabbed me right at the front. In the manual, I'm thinking that people might also want to know, and it's not,
Oh, you moved on, good.
I'm sorry, inspection manuals, a site manual, a hard copy.
Yep, so just to be clear, I think that what we called field inspection manual and the data collection manual are one and the same.
Yeah, I
When
think
we-
still on the inside page, it says field of inspection.
So.
But it's a data, what the Department of Revenue is looking for is
Data collection
a
manual.
data collection manual.
Perfect. So I just wanted
Oh, the
to,
data-
so we're talking the same language when we had something called a field inspection manual,
130 pages.
and we also have something called a data collection manual.
No, the 130-page
That
one
was-
was from Connecticut.
Right,
We don't know who Nate got that other one from, which was a
Okay.
field inspection.
And it was-
it was really not,
Not all of it was relevant, but I sure thought that the part that I had read was like, wow, yeah, this makes sense. And so we want to maybe modify
but
that
the
and tweak it.
data collection manual is the things you want your data collector to be looking at when they go
When they
out.
go
Right.
and do that. And that kind of ties into what we got out of Connecticut too, in terms of rating the properties and the ages and the kitchens and things like that.
And that's all in.
That's in
all-
yours?
yeah.
Okay.
So, any chance we can see the next draft by the next meeting, 2 weeks from now?
I just have to put a few more houses in.
So
Okay.
we'll put that on as
That'd
an
be great.
agenda item.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
If that's okay, I'll
Yeah.
put that on as an agenda item for the December 4th. Good. And there was a suggestion from, I believe it was you, Sarah,
Yes.
about potential for creating some kind of ad hoc citizen committee to aid the board members. So I'll let you.
Yes, some residents were noticing that we have a lot to do, so they asked if we would consider having residents who wanted to work in a group work on something for us and then come back to us. And I said I would bring it up.
I don't know how we'd use them, but I would really like to be able to take as many resources as we can to help us get through all the work that we have to do. So I don't know if anybody has a suggestion about how, okay, well, let me,
You finish this
I was
one.
just gonna-
I'll tell you
I was
what
gonna
did
ask for
before
suggestions, so
everybody
you're
existed. Okay, thank you. Earlier on, when I first joined, we talked about an adjunct committee or some sort of committee that could help work on stuff. And, there's this thing called procedures, and I have another thing called policies. It's really big. Do you know how much we got in there?
Nothing.
Nothing, right? If there's anything easy there, we could say, hey, could you do a flow, walk in, map out the process, just do a flow chart or whatever? We can add some verbiage, and it'll give us at least a baseline for knowing how our systems work. And then we can augment that with decision points and things like that that'll help it. But just getting our processes documented, Ryan, we're going to end up with 60 of them, at least.
That's fair.
Yeah.
If I could, are you all set?
I could show you another one that's empty, too.
Well, that's
if you
okay.
want.
Point taken. Move on.
Yeah, always, where's our policies?
So
Where's our
let's-
policies
so let me,
manual?
So Rena's working on the data collection manual, which will go into the processes folder very nicely,
Okay.
I think. But how else might we use some ad hoc citizen committee or somebody that we
I
can,
don't know, because a lot of the
Recruit.
stuff, especially anything to do with abatements, veterans, seniors, a lot of that's confidential, and nobody else can look at it. So-
well, you wouldn't be looking at individuals, but you'd be looking at a process or a policy or whatever. We could design, or we could have a. we could have
Standard
a-
input sheets and
We could
things
have
like
an
that.
ad hoc committee working on the website to help the website designer here, or something. I mean, I'm just wondering if there are other things that might or might not be useful for us to grab some resources. There are a lot of knowledgeable people here in
Yeah.
this community. They aren't necessarily knowledgeable about assessor stuff, but they may be knowledgeable about something else that we can use to take off our plate so that we then can focus in on the things that are most key to us. Is that a fair?
I totally agree, and if I could continue, Mr. Chairman, when I shared that with our selectmen, one of our selectmen, I said, well, could we get adjunct members that we can kind of treat as training? Because I know that after my 3 years, I'm out of here. And so there's a big learning curve there's an enormous learning curve that goes along with this. And so, meantime, we do know that if we can start training people, and if they can start helping, and how do you do a site visit, you can do the site visit, you can't debate anything, but you can make observations that you could share with the assessor that you're with, or the data collector that you're with. And I don't even know if our data collectors have to be assessors or not. But in either case, where we're looking at, 5,000 homes in town, structures and stuff like that.
You really need some DUR training
Oh, I agree.
Right.
to be
So-
a field
So
person.
I think there were
So
two.
let's bring them in.
So
Somebody
this
else
is two kind of separate but related. You were talking about adjunct, and Sarah was talking about ad hoc. Ad hoc means you bring people in for just one function.
Yeah.
You give them that function, they come up with their recommendation, and we act on it or not. An adjunct is something that we don't have currently in our charter for, and next time we do a charter review, or at some point, there could be a charter review where we would say, we want to change the number of assessors, and that we have someone who's an adjunct, or whatever we
Right.
want to call it, in training. So we could do that, but right now, we have no vehicle to do, recruit somebody to train them, even though they're not non-voting member. We have no vehicle for doing a non-voting member, I guess I would call it that.
Right. Your ad hoc, I don't think there's going to be a problem. Interestingly enough, my past life in the conservation, we had adjunct members, I believe. Carl, is that right? Didn't we? Right, we didn't give voting power. They came in and they sat in, and I offered this, if you want to be an adjunct member, take my vote. I'll vote whatever you want me to vote, kind of thing. But it was trying to get people to start a training program. That's one of the things we're missing in town, is, especially with a lot of committees, there's no onboarding. There really isn't. Throw them in the pond, let them swim, let them make a pile of bad decisions, because we're so good about documenting all our policies and processes, right? That we need to at least have some sort of a process in which we try to bring people on the state. And hopefully, the members will take somebody under each one of us on a wing. I know that when I joined Conservation, I had somebody put me under his wing, and, I think that we need to be thinking in those terms, because, and
So we can follow up, I think, with potentially creating some kind of ad hoc committee. We can do that without anybody else's input. As far as creating an adjunct, we might be able to recruit somebody to sit in on our discussions, at least everything except the executive sessions, which they would not be able to participate in, be a non-voting voice. We could think about doing something like that. I just don't know how we go about doing
Yeah,
this. So let me do a little bit of research, or
Play it out,
or
yeah.
you want to do some research?
No,
Either way,
you
we'll-
just gave me the website.
Okay.
No.
So-
I'm having a hard enough time just keeping up with
My-
Rena's pushing out.
My thoughts on an ad hoc committee are, we'd have to be very clear about what we would like citizens to be doing
Yeah.
for us, and what level of outreach they can do with or without us, because it can get very muddy very quickly. But it is certainly something like, I'm thinking like the website, if we want feedback on what should go on a website, that would be an excellent thing to give to some citizens to look at. And while somebody's working on it, they could get that feedback from that committee.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that would be excellent, but there's other stuff that they can't go near. They're not sworn in.
Right.
They need that DOR. And I have to say, the other thing that is a hindrance, that's sort of an aside to this, is you have no ability to access any of those DOR courses if you're interested in potentially being
Right,
on the
you're
board
locked out.
You have to
until
be
you're
appointed
sworn
or
in.
elected.
Yeah. And so that is a real challenge that we have, and that's a state level problem.
and something we can't really
Yeah.
fix.
Yeah.
But there's a way around it, Sarah.
We can definitely think about what tasks that we could
Outsource.
Outsource.
We'll call it outsource, but not outsource, yes.
Yes.
We could ask for
Citizen
additional
I don't know.
citizen resources.
Citizen science.
Question, is there a way that we can start some sort of an informal orientation with regard to not taking the exam or anything like that, but to essentially go over some of the materials and the concepts that we were trained in as part of this onboarding for a adjunct member or something like that?
I think some of the Q&A that we're going to put on the website would help.
Would be very helpful,
And
yeah.
that's a good place to start.
Okay, yeah.
So I want to bring us back to,
Yes.
we have a lot of work to get done in the next 4 or 5 months. And I don't want to be so interested in all this longer-term stuff, which is valuable and useful, but I don't want us to get bogged down in that. So I really want to focus in on making sure that we get our 5-year reval done. And what do we have to do to get that done? And if our website is something we could have several people take a look at and give us some feedback on, that's a really good way to use some citizens who aren't necessarily specialists in assessor.
We should have them tested.
But they can go, I couldn't get to this from there, or I was gonna ask this question and I can't find an answer.
Or don't understand.
Okay, great. So that would be really helpful. As far as an adjunct member, we could talk about doing that. And that's a longer-term thing, and I think establishing some kind of a succession planning, I won't call it that exactly, but you know what I mean, is probably a good idea. Find out who's interested in this kind of work, and
Yeah. And the other side of it is, if they got this point, Rena, couldn't they continue on and take other exams to become
No, to take the exams in the MAAO, you have to be, again, you have to work in a municipality, you have to be appointed or elected, or
okay.
work in a municipality.
so.
part-time doesn't count? I mean, man, we
okay.
can't do this
That's-
as a career. What's that?
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Good suggestions, some of which we can implement short-term, some of which we may have to table for longer-term. I don't really want to go through much of the future agenda item stuff because I think we still have a lot to cover. Is there anything about senior or veterans exemptions, we're still working on that for make a recommendation at the next town meeting, potentially.
Veterans that, the veterans are what they are.
I agree.
Right.
I
And they have it in-
This is how we listed it when we
Seniors
first started.
maybe, but veterans.
Yeah.
Well, and once you offer exemptions, you gotta offer
Yeah,
exemptions.
sure.
If
If we change the level.
you change the level, right. you
Correct.
have to-
So that's why veterans
If
are
you
on
double
there.
one, you have to double
That-
everybody.
It's the only reason veterans are on there, because it's as an example of those others.
Because a lot of people, they call and say, well, I'm a veteran. Well, do you have a service-connected disability? No.
Okay,
So,
thanks very much.
So we get your license plate. So, Rita, would it make sense when we do ours, if, the senior center, we invite the veteran agent in to pick up that part? I'm sure we've got a lot of veterans in town.
Yeah.
And we might,
You might, but you're gonna get veterans that probably don't get anything for service-connected disability, and they're just gonna be
yeah,
disappointed.
but if there's other senior stuff that might affect them, then maybe that would be another draw. I'm just looking for hooks to get people to come.
Is there anything else on the future agenda list that anybody wants to talk about today?
Not today, but we do have a pile of policies and things like Nate's recommendations that we need to start working on.
Yep.
You know, that.
Yep.
But not
page-
today?
Pardon?
But not today?
Not today.
Okay.
There's a football game on and that,
Well, that's not why I'm trying to get out of here.
well,
I'm not trying to get out of here, I'm just trying
We
to
just
save
have
everybody a little bit of
Executive
It's a good
session.
time.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else we should have covered that we haven't? Anything from your office? Okay.
and can we
We-
should submit to you some ideas for next meeting as well?
Yes.
Yes. And
In
so we
fact, you can do
talk-
that during our closing comments.
I don't know. I haven't thought about it yet.
Well, the ones you
Some of
thought
them.
about, you.
Okay, I'll have
So, we're moving to closing comments. We have, open it up to the public. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak? Come right up and push the little button so that the thing turns from red to green.
Okay, the assessors report we did.
Identify yourself and your address. Street address.
All right, Anna Lockwood, 91 Main Street. So last meeting you had, there was a conversation about, you guys had Heather over, and you guys had conversation about roles and responsibilities, and I know that's a big topic for you guys to discuss. You're discussing some of that today. And there was a talk about the gray area, right? Between the charter, there's not a lot of, so I wanted to take the time to talk to you about the beautiful part of the gray area, because it's actually, in my experience, is actually how you can actually create accountability in small groups. So, if we think about what happened this past winter with the taxes and the lack of review and all, you can see where two groups working together, where there is more of an oversight, that can be helpful. The construction of the RFP that I also know that was delayed, I am in the process of creating an RFP with the town for Marshall. If you haven't heard about Marshall, ask me about it, okay?
You don't live here if you haven't. if you haven't heard.
Right, but, it's interesting because if you look at the charter for Parks Commission, it says very clearly and explicitly that the Parks Commissioners are the ones who lay out parks, who hire engineers. But, then we have this conflict that, the town manager, she's actually the chief procurement office in town. So what do you do with that? And what you do with that is you work together. So, for the parks, for the care and maintenance of the parks, we have Chris, that's facility director, and we have a rec director, which she's not really in that area of the parks. So, Chris alone would be impossible for him to get this RFP. I mean, we're on our third RFP and that we haven't even broken the ground yet. And, because the charter has this gray area there, allows for this conversation to happen between the parks commissioners and the town. And it brings everybody to the table in order to create a game plan for how to get this done. So that is, a lot of that really, you can, the default of people is to think, I'll take control of something and I'll take care of it. But that's actually very problematic because you're actually creating a silo within any organization, especially when you're talking about in the office that will have the most 2 people, and, in a board that regularly meets once a month. And, I know you guys are trying to do twice a month, but, so I can see a lot of problems coming forth by creating these very rigid roles, very rigid oversights, where, I think there was very unusual circumstances this past year. We all wish we weren't there, and I think we need to do things to prevent from going there again. But I would be very cautious on the organizational side of things to focus on trying to eliminate the gray area. And I think is looking forward to, how to work that gray area and be successful there, because that's how you're going to create oversight and accountability from both sides. So that's it.
If I could comment, I think what you said, it makes a lot of sense. And what happens if you try to make it too rigid, then you have series of stovepipes and then there's no interaction.
Right.
So by leaving that little bit of gray area and having people work to collaborate, then you wind up with a better product, I will call it.
Exactly.
So that's thank you very much for that feedback. And I'm glad somebody's watching our meetings and critically watching our meetings and saying, oh, that's stupid.
I mean, I wish it was a little shorter,
Well,
thank God
so
for
don't
YouTube
we?
times 2.
Listen how fast they talk. Yes, no, thank you.
No, thank
Did you have a comment?
Yeah, I think that creating an open work environment where people can collaborate and without fear is a good thing. And I can share with you that organization charts sometimes are really good because you try to elucidate who has primary responsibility and who has secondary support, kind of a thing. And when my first experience was, I was just trying to get a sense of what was happening. And I said, what's going well? What could go a little bit better, and what needs to get fixed right now? And one of the employees says, I don't dare answer that because nothing good can come of it. So he's telling you that there's an organization with a little bit of fear. So I think documenting some pieces and relationships without putting big constraints on it, but who has overall responsibility for things, and says, what, the buck does stop at this person's desk. Doesn't mean they shouldn't be talking, but creating a final responsibility is kind of critical. And that's why what you saw when I first threw out there, I was saying, Brian, you got to go, and you and Heather and Rena, and figure out what's going on here. And so it wasn't like we're trying to exclude. It's just that who has overall responsibility for the functional output of that unit. And in the end of the day, it would be the town manager, because we only, according to the charter, we only set policies and make observations. We don't have any control over that. And I've had employees come back and tell me, I don't work for you, I work for X, and that's it. But you're part of, and it's fear. It's fear that's driving it.
Well, I hear you using the word fear, but I think knowing what has happened this past year, when you use the word fear, if I was an employee in town, I would have fear too. But not of my boss, not necessarily of you in particular, but just of the fear of the situation that was happening. So, so I think, throwing the word fear, without a name, if I was an employee, I would have had fear. Now, when you're telling me, about the organizational chart and so forth, it made me think about software salespeople. Have you ever dealt with one of them?
I got a brother-in-law, it's one of them.
Because what they do to you is, when you're in operations, they come to you and they say, they don't ever investigate about your organization. They come and make it sound like a piece of software is going to solve your problems and all the things that you don't need. And the reality is, any operation that has failed, and a lot of times they tie it to a software implementation that failed, and that's because they're trying to put their systems, how they do things successfully, into a package of a software that's designed to
For
sell to
something
the
else.
masses. So I'm not suggesting to not do something, I'm just giving you a word of caution
Yeah.
of something that I seem to be failing.
Okay, I'm using the fear from the Deming perspective. Dr. Deming says, drive fear out of your organization. And how you do that is you say, there's no one to blame. Let's just go fix it, and let's figure out what was the core that caused it. Let's just go fix it.
I'm not disagreeing.
And that's where you're trying to come from. If people come back and don't want to play, then you got a different kind of a problem. But you're dealing with, again, they're fearful of something happening that could be affecting them.
I mean,
So,
I-
and
yeah.
that's what I meant by, you're listening to fear. That's what it's coming in, we're trying to drive that out.
Right, and the citizens' response to things, I think, can cause fear on employees.
Oh, sure.
You know,
Fear of change.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no,
just
fear of.
Safety.
Safety of having your name dragged on,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And, but anyway, so that was my feedback, and
Thank you
I
very much.
Thank you, Anna, that was good. That was good. And you're doing a good job, by the way. Keep charging, girl.
Have you heard about Marshall Park yet?
Have I
All right,
heard?
have a nice
Oh,
day.
okay, good job.
Thank you.
I heard it on
I
a,
know.
I heard it on a-
I'm still supposed to be.
Anna, I think I heard it on a boat for like 3 hours.
Oh,
I think I heard it on a boat for about 3 hours.
probably.
Yeah, it was a joke.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Anna.
Any other public comment?
All right.
Identify
Yeah.
yourself and your address, please.
I will. Carl Luck, 50 Sunset Lane. I was very happy to see Nate here tonight and hear you're starting to probe into these questions that are been out there for a while. And I was really happy to hear that the questions from the residents, a few of us, are yet to be worked on. I guess I wanted to inform you of one thing and make a comment, because although the questions were good, the answers were so high level, they were not helpful to me. One of the questions, one of the really good ones, was the difference between the draft and the final. And the comment I want to make is more to share some of the history with you, because maybe you're pretty new and maybe you didn't go back and look at all the videotapes from for the last year, going on a year. But the way the reports rolled out, whether they were meant to be confidential or not, which is another debate, the draft report was presented at the BOA meeting, and I was there, as Nate alluded
The
to.
draft was?
The draft was presented
At a
at a BOA meeting.
That's how it got public.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And it's fine, it's a contract from the town, so it should have been public to begin with. But that, public or not, it's not here or there, it is public. But the scenario that I want to make sure I understand is that at that meeting, Nate presented it to the board, which was only 2 people, neither one of which are here tonight, but the YouTube has the actual meeting.
CJ, okay.
And they had no comments. They liked it. As a matter of fact, they liked it so much, they said, "When can you publish it?" And Nate said, and I picked the quote, he said, "Oh, you don't want any changes?" They said, "No, we don't want any changes, it looks good." And they said, "Well, then I can publish it tomorrow, because all I need to do is take off the water stamp." Okay. It would have been a done deal at 10% and 17%.
Right.
10 and 27%, 10 and 27. Sat with bated breath waiting for the final to come out, and then 3 or 4 weeks later, it finally came out. And the only reason I asked us to get the draft report was because those numbers were ridiculous. So that's what happened. The assessors were ready to accept. They didn't vote on it. I wish they had voted on it, but it was just a draft. They wanted the final. If they'd voted on it, it would have been 10 and 27%.
Yeah.
In that 3 weeks, I don't know that there was any interaction maybe with the Board of Assessors at all. And I also would believe, based on MFS seeming very knowledgeable, reputable, know what the heck they're doing, that they didn't present a draft that was off by a factor of 2. So that's why there's something going on between those two, and why it's important to see what happened, what was the math. The raw data didn't change, the ASRs didn't change. You know that there's some question, in at least my mind, until we see that math, that those ASRs were even calculated correctly.
The original?
The only ASRs that were calculated for the draft end, it's the same ASRs draft and final.
They stayed the same.
And the numbers don't seem right, and everything's based on that. And every, answer is kind of, well, it's in the report. Well, it's not in the report. So until we see really the math, I don't think we're going to really understand what happened or why it happened, or is it right? So that's my comment on
So
on
something
that.
happened, there was another meeting then, from what I understand?
I have no idea.
It was CJ and Nate.
Yes,
after that.
yes, and Nate was quite open and honest when I asked him, because I asked him that question, and I think Rena was there, and he was very open and honest. And he said, CJ went over the numbers, and he was able to get the coefficient of dispersion much better. And I don't question that. I question what the heck it is, but, and what the math is to get it, because I look up coefficient of dispersion, and there's lots of definitions. So which definition was used, what was the equation? And that's what I'm looking for.
Sure.
So, but was it so bad? Was the coefficient of dispersion not calculated for the draft? What was the coefficient of dispersion then that MFS was prepared to accept and propose to the board?
Because they hadn't looked at it yet.
Well,
And
we don't know that.
We don't know. So that, but I mean,
I can't reach a
They hadn't done the
conclusion. We don't
survey.
know.
They
I
hadn't
don't
done
know
the
that I
survey
can
yet.
ever get to the answers of those questions that you're asking. I mean, I asked that question this evening,
yeah,
and I got the response that I got.
which is why I'm sitting here, because that response was not really a response. I mean, if the math is the answer.
One of the things Nate did say was he used he didn't use the exact same sales that CJ did.
Right.
Right.
He said
Oh, yeah.
that CJ coded out, he used, or
Yes,
some that he coded out.
This is true. If you look at
'Cause he said that to me.
Nate's qualified sales, they're different than but the qualified sales in the draft and the final are exactly the same. They didn't change.
And that's why I asked about the first quartile versus the other quartile when I was talking to Mike. Yeah. Because it seems like there was some movement based on coefficients of dispersion that I still don't understand. And perhaps that is where some of the difference comes from, but I don't know.
Yeah, and that's why, but the beauty is, it's not theory or anything else, it's math.
Yes.
So we need to see the math. If we don't see the math, I don't know how we can accept the answer, given this disparity.
Right.
But, that's it, I think. That's it.
Mr. Chairman,
So when you send the questions,
are
they
Nate's
answer them.
files still intact in terms of,
Or what?
I'm sorry, CJ's.
Okay.
CJ's, I'm sorry, it's getting late.
Confused.
CJ's file still intact with regard to any of that material from back then?
Well, before you answer that question, I think the question really was to Nate on the two different drafts, or the draft versus the final, and where's the math there? And your question is a different question, but
But
it's
it
also a
pertains to-
valid question.
If there's any history there and how he came up with those calculations.
And that's why I asked if we could go through the calculations. That was one of the questions I asked in advance so we could get that information, but that's not what happened.
Well, plus he also was responding off the cuff
Off the
here.
cuff,
yeah.
So we can ask for a follow-up on that one and include the math,
Yeah,
basically.
show us, because I would like to understand.
So that's
Thank you.
reasonable feedback. Thank you very much, Mr. Luck. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Hey, Phil.
Would you identify yourself and your address, please?
Yes, Phyllis Luck, 50 Sunset Lane. I was looking at the thought of, things that some people could work on in subcommittees, and when I look at land value policies, proposed criteria, and building value policies, I would think you could get some people to say, well, what are other towns doing? And that would be legwork that you guys wouldn't have to do, because how do you establish those things? Don't you look at what other people are doing? So, to me, I'm thinking of, just get people to do the legwork for you. And, come
Excellent
back and
suggestion.
give you,
I wish it had occurred to me.
that's it. So
Thank you
things
very
like that.
much. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Phyllis.
That actually might be useful.
I think I had a couple other people make similar recommendations.
Yep, yep. That's all the public, so we're going to move on to closing comments from the board. Ask Sarah first, please. Do you have anything else you'd like to add? Didn't I go first?
Not at this time, I've asked everything.
Thank you.
Comment on everything I wanted to.
And, okay, and during this, I would ask, are there any future agenda items that you'd like to add so that I make sure I record them?
Well, for future agenda,
No, that's okay.
I do think we need to get an update on the senior policies that we're thinking about.
Okay.
But that's already on the agenda. And I think we should decide on what things we'd like to see on the website. Like, we just generally discuss that, but maybe we can, put together like our top 5 or something like that, so.
Oh, so sort of prioritize?
Yeah, of what we could get done.
For the website?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
and that's all I have right now, but if I think of anything else, I'll send them to you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rabbit?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that people understood this, just because we finished these up, it's not like we get to go home for the rest of the year, we only have to meet once a week. Right now, we need a policies manual. Do we have anything like that floating around? Do we have a history of policies are, in terms of how we've decided things? Obviously, we talked about the procedures, that we would be needing. We also need a thing called a corrective action response process. When there is a mistake made, we need to be looking at our policies and procedures and seeing, do they need modification? How do we fix them? And that goes back to an organization chart. Where's the responsibility lie to administer it, as well as make corrections? Obviously, we need the website. Contract suppliers, we want to see a little more. What about the others? We only really know about the 2 biggies, and there are 3 biggies.
Okay.
3 biggies, I'm sorry.
Which 2 are you talking about?
3 biggies,
Thank you.
but I guess that's going to show up. The senior outreach program, we've still got going, and then the lead assessor, no, it's okay. All in all, we have a ton of work, and I think that the putting together a timeline of when we think we might be able to start addressing that stuff, we're going to get sucked in. Everybody has much more ambition than they do energy, and the way to start taking care of that is to at least lay out what events and what things we're going to try and administer, and what is a reasonable time frame. And I think that's got to be a higher priority.
So we have the policies in here that we're going to be addressing, the fact that
Some
we're
of them,
addressing.
some of them, yeah.
And we don't necessarily have them all.
By stretch.
And by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
So I don't know if was there anything here, there was something we talked about earlier that we needed to add to the future,
I forgot.
and that is,
This is
getting
Yeah.
investigate why the cards are.
yeah,
Yeah, and that should be.
figure out
a
what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Investigate the
As soon as they
cards.
stop talking, I forgot.
That's a future one for sure.
Yeah.
And you have the lead on that one.
Unfortunately.
Hey, if you give you the website, you can have the lead
Thank
on
you.
that one,
Yeah,
for
you're
sure.
welcome. Okay, anything else for future?
And Sarah's got the ad hoc committee development, right?
And sorry.
Go ahead.
I liked Phyllis's suggestion about those, starting developing some policies. Having people help us investigate what the policies are in other communities, if they exist. That's, running down a lot of that stuff would be something that some folks might be able to help with.
Yes, yeah. So we can talk about that at a future
Yeah,
meeting.
well, I will, and,
And delineate that.
okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good.
So
idea.
you're gonna flesh it out a little bit, that's the strategy there. You don't wanna own all the ad hoc committees?
We're talking about future.
And the third
So
one,
I don't have any additional comments.
now that we talk about that one, was the potential for some kind of an adjunct or training
And some sort of
process to get
onboarding process for new
get
members.
people.
Yeah,
So-
an expansion perhaps. Most of the towns do have only 3 members on their board of assessors.
I know.
Is that your experience, Rita? I mean, yeah, that's what I was looking through. this
And
thing.
I don't, with all the communities I've worked in, I don't know any board of assessors that have
Fine.
procedures and policies, because everything is, they stick to Mass General Law.
Yeah, we can adopt pieces of
Yes.
that for sure. We just
And
need to
if-
move
well,
it.
no, we have to adopt
Oh,
Mass
yeah.
law.
Yeah,
We have to build on that. So that's,
yes.
I would just like to say it differently.
I like that. I like your word better.
And I don't know why the norm is 3 members, because it's very difficult to have a conversation. It's very, without having a meeting, to exchange ideas. They meet once, most of them meet once a month. We're meeting twice a month right now. And I suspect we will continue doing that for some time.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think where the law reads, it's 1305.
Yes,
And
Yes.
the town of Boxborough actually has 1 assessor.
one elected assessor?
The person that runs the office is the board of assessors.
And they're elected?
Wow.
No, they're appointed.
They're appointed, so
Do
they
they-
don't really have a board of assessors, they have
No,
an
they don't,
assessor.
they have an assessor.
So in
That one
our,
person, at abatement time, decides what abatements are granted, what are denied.
Uh,
I
Wow.
don't know of any community that has 5, quite
Wow.
honestly.
okay,
I think in this town we'll have a hard time getting to 5 on a regular basis.
well, getting 5 members to show up.
I just,
we-
Well, it's a masochism sadist club down here, we can recruit there.
Some of you may have been around when we increased the number of select board from 3 to 5. And it felt like we were never going to get enough candidates, and yet we seem to have 5 members all the
Yeah.
time.
okay.
And
I think there's definitely enough interest now.
No, it seems like in most communities, 5 is the norm for selectmen.
Yes, yes.
Probably-
But we all, I think, not all necessarily, I think it would make sense for a larger board so that we can have more of the discussions that we need to have. And to get a wider range of experience bases for those discussions. Most boards of assessors, I hate to say this, are a bunch of old white men in Massachusetts, and at least we're not that today. But I would like to see more diversity on a board like this, making decisions that have far-reaching impact to all of our taxpayers.
Yeah,
So,
well, you get 2 old seniors.
well, I just said we're not all.
But hey, I did put a pitch out there for getting a woman on the board, I did that.
I think the challenge is that it is a significant time commitment.
It
for
is.
people,
Oh, yeah.
And not everybody's in that privileged place to be able to get that,
Right,
Yeah.
right,
especially in the younger age group.
right, yeah, right.
You're working.
Are you, is that more board comment?
More comment, we're gonna, hopefully, and at some point in the future, we will have a new lead assessor. And do we want to think about it, some sort of an onboarding strategy in terms of how to bring this, because if this person's walking into this right now and they have the expectation that things are gonna lay out really well, maybe, we want to learn from some of the things that have happened. And I'm thinking if we could somehow help this new person along in getting materials and training, or just putting together something that help them come up to speed, at least let them know how Lunenburg does things. Because your culture is basically how you do stuff. That's what it is. And
So we are trying to establish some policies,
Yeah.
which we can write down. I'm hoping, depending upon the timing of the appointment of a new lead assessor, that there will be some transition period, hopefully with our interim, as long as resources are available, we'll see. But we can't really know what the resource situation will be at that time. So yes, I agree with you, it'd be nice to have a transition, we will have as much as we can possibly afford.
Yeah, or at least start thinking about how we could do it, because it may turn out that we outsource it. Hey, Rena, you're working for Nate, can we piggyback that back in to help you train this person as much as possible? Because I know they're looking for, I believe they might be looking for somebody with regard to doing inspections and things like that. Would that, is that kind of like what Heather
Can't
was
really
saying?
address
Yeah, we can't. So, anyway, I think that
personnel
we need
issues.
to be thinking about how we want this organization to move and where we want it trained and,
We can, when we create our budget, we don't really create the budget, when we input to the budget, suggest that we need somebody to do data collection.
Yeah.
Suggest that we need a full-time.
aren't the budgets being developed now? And
They're-
going through finance committee?
That's starting, yeah. So, I've already had a preliminary conversation with the town manager about some of that, so
Okay. You don't want to share?
I can only share so much. And as we
Okay,
get closer,
I respect that.
to it, we can share more.
Okay.
And I am all about transparency, so me biting my tongue is a very difficult
No,
thing
if
to
there's,
do.
if there's people and names involved, that's okay. I wouldn't want to.
Okay,
Okay, executive session not to return?
we will be entering into executive session. I will need a motion to enter into executive session. And, okay, I can't say any more yet.
And we're not going to return.
And we're not to return.
We're not to return.
But,
And you should do it by roll call vote.
correct. So we need a
Please take a motion.
motion?
A motion we adjourn to enter into executive session and not to return to open session after exiting executive session. Do you need to read all this?
Mm-hmm.
Motion to, executive session 1, motion to enter executive session with purpose 7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant and aid requirements. Quote, applications for abatement or exemption under this chapter shall, except in proceedings before the county commissioners, the appellate tax board, or a court of the Commonwealth be only open to the inspection of the assessors, the commissioner, the deputies, clerks, and assistants of either the assessors or the commissioner, and such other officials or designated private auditors of the Commonwealth. Chapter 59, Section 60 of Massachusetts General Law is the law being cited.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Does he
we-
have to shut this
We will
down?
take, he will.
Aye. All right, so,
As soon as we do this, we'll ask him to shut that off. So, we have to do a roll call?
yeah,